I could get a boner, no problem, and we could be having sex.
I'm sorry, that shouldn't be funny, but that is a funny sentence, no matter how you spin it.
It's like people like hold them up on this pedestal for being nuisances to society. Like, oh, you're so healthy, like, good for you, buddy. And it's just like, no. I'm just like, so, I don't even know. I don't even know what to do right now. This is... Oh my gosh. Ladies and gentlemen, you're listening. This is Long Walk Short Drink episode 29. Yeah, and we are podcasting right now. We're not doing a live stream. This is our first time, Dave, like getting to talk in over a month.
I know. Yeah. I was thinking about that for listeners. If they're listening kind of as we go, it's business as usual, I guess, as it's always been since like December of 2016. But for us, there's fits and starts sometimes. And we're after one of those fits, I guess.
I think this was the longest hiatus. I called it a hiatus to one of my buddies. The podcast is on hiatus right now.
That sounds way fancier than break.
Yeah. Yeah. So, because I knew we were coming back and it was a nice break, but I think this was the longest one though of our breaks that we've had. And, man, I missed it. Like,
me too. Yeah.
Let's crack open a beer, and I don't want to waste any more time. I want to hear all about Europe. Oh, cutie.
Yeah, I got the dogs. They swarmed me.
Hi, 11. Hey, yeah.
Hey. Oh, there she eating my face.
Oh, man. Look at them smooches. Oh, I love you, Dad. I like all that sweat on your face. It tastes delicious.
I'm pretty sure she likes my nose so much because it is always a little sweaty.
Yeah.
Okay, I love you, but Gav here.
Yeah. She's like, no, I want to look at your face more.
She'll never ever stop.
My sister had a dog once that I did that. I was like, because she's a licker.
That's what she
said.
And
I was like, I'm going to see how long it takes. And I got like a sore spot on my face, like, because she had licked the same spot like over and over and over again.
So like the forehead?
Yeah, like, and I still, like, I caved. Even, like, I was like, all right, you're done. Like,
you're done.
You're done.
Well, let's crack some beers.
Yeah. All right. On 3.
Woo.
Yeah.
I'll give you the Cliffs Notes on Europe. I have never been out of the country before.
Yeah.
So that was a new thing, and it took me an embarrassing long time to get a passport, but eventually I did that, and we kept talking to our old buddy Jacko who's lived in Europe for 10 years or so, and in Amsterdam for the last, 3 maybe, sounds right, maybe a little longer, but he's always encouraged me to come visit, and that just seemed like impossible to me somehow. It just, I had no frame of reference for like, oh, I left the country before, and this is
it's as impossible. It probably seems as impossible to you as it did to me that I would ever come visit you in Minnesota. Like, it seems like a foreign country to me.
Yeah. So, but then shit like that. So then you were in Minnesota last year also, and maybe it was even the year before. Jacko's dad visited, which for something about that, just I was like, oh, I gotta go now.
Yeah.
So I started to try to psych myself up, and then in February or January, whatever, U2 announced that Joshua Tree tour, and so that ended up being kind of the thing that we built the trip around. The bride is a massive U2 fan. We met at a U2 concert in 2005, and she is a concert ninja. Like,
right.
Yeah, so like we met at like the closest you could be, and it comes from a lottery system on that tour, the Vertigo tour, and she worked really hard to be there, as she worked really hard for the tickets we got in Europe, and I ended up there almost by accident. But so she very deliberately tried to get that kind of good seats for U2 show in Dublin, Ireland.
Right.
Their hometown, where they were playing the entirety of the Joshua Tree, their seminal 1987 album. So we built the trip around that. but we flew into Amsterdam first. So I'm not going to take you day by day or anything. That would take forever. But I did have like a handful of notes. The first of which is just international flights.
Yeah.
I'd never been on one, and they're fucking awesome.
Really?
That's how I feel about it. At least the ones
I
that I
don't know
had.
about the idea of being trapped on a plane for like 14 hours, man.
I know. I didn't think I would. I thought that might bother me.
With no windows and like just that like constant like noise and like, oh, I don't know. It like, cause I mean, the longest flights I've ever been on are the flights to Hawaii, and like, and the longest of those I flew from South Carolina, I think, to Hawaii. I don't think it would do that far, but it, Minnesota, maybe like the Twin Cities. Does that sound right?
You mean from a leaving place, or
like, say, I think it was like St. Paul to Hawaii, like like flew from St. Paul to Hawaii, and that was a long flight. That was like a 7 hour flight, 7 or 8 hour flight.
I mean, that's good size.
And that was pushing my limits. Like I was about to freak out. So I can't imagine. Like, props to you, man. For
did you used to smoke at that time? Was that part of it?
Oh yeah, that was no. I mean, I was pretty good about not needing a cigarette, but it was just, I mean, because, you know, you're a big guy and those seats are probably a tight fit for you.
Yeah, they're awful for everyone.
Yeah, and like I have to get a belt extender, which like for any flight, which doesn't make it like pleasant, because then you have to like ask the stewardess for a belt extender and like.
Oh yeah, that's hard.
I am always so terrified that they're going to charge me for the seat next to me, because like it is impossible for me not to spill over in the seat next to me. Like, that's why it's great having a partner, because, you know, we kind of like spill over into each other's seats.
Yeah.
You know, but what I mean, like I've spent more of my adult life as a bachelor than I have as a partner.
Yeah.
And so I would always crowd out the people next to me, and I was always worried I was going to get charged for the seat next to me, but they never did. So I've yet to get charged that, thank goodness. So
when the brides paid extra money so that we could sit side by side, only 2 seats, and that was well worth it, because like for those bigger flights, there's quite a few people like across the way, like in the middle. Maybe 4, and then another 2 seats on the other side. It's a huge plane. We left at like 10 p.m. or so from here, and the idea was to try to sleep on the way over. But I just didn't know what to expect. I had no idea. So first off, they bring you food and free drink constantly. Like, there's a meal, there's snacks. They just keep giving you, like, you want wine, you want whiskey, whatever you want. It's free.
That's awesome.
They give you hot towels. I never had a hot towel.
Were you first class or something?
No, that's what I was like. Is it just
really? They're giving you whiskey and coach? Like,
yeah, I saw first class on the way out, only on the way home. And those are like fucking hotels.
Yeah.
Like,
for the international flights. Yeah. Cause like those seats you can like lay down in, they're like beds.
Kind of. Yeah. And there's like this extra room for your feet, but it like goes, I don't know. Is it weird? Like space pods almost. And they had like phones. It seemed like 1980s phones. Like when Danny Glover uses a cell phone in Lethal Weapon, it's like, that's what it looked like. But so yeah, they like hot towels, they pull it out. It's like I don't know, some kind of oversized moist towelette. It's not like a cloth towel, but it is the most refreshing thing in the world. So it's like they give it to you, and you're like, it's too hot to handle, so you go back and forth between the hands, and then you start to like wipe the sweat off your face and neck, and I was like, this is magic. And there's so many movies on the thing. And so on
did yours have the headrest TVs like with on demand?
Yes, you choose individually, which I never knew any other way. But the bride was telling me like, it used to be like this thing in the middle of the aisle.
Yeah.
And so yeah, on the way over, the intention was to try to sleep so that we wouldn't be wrecked. So I think I did watch like Silver Linings Playbook, because I think I was editing one of the shows, and I was doing something where I was watching that movie on mute shortly before we left. I was like, this movie's fantastic. Like, I got to watch this again someday. So I found myself in that position where it's like, I was trying to go to sleep, couldn't. I'm like, fuck it. Do they have Silver Linings Playbook? they do. So I can watch that. And so mostly we slept, but like I was drinking the wine and then the bride would get it and she wouldn't really drink it. So I'd drink hers and I didn't really get or feel that drunk, but it was just fun to get so much wine. I think I had like 4 glasses. They were all like this size.
That's awesome.
And I kept
and
thinking.
They were charging like $30 a glass for this?
They didn't charge you for anything. Now, the bride also, so I married very well in really every way. And one of them is the YouTube concert ninja to set all this up. But also she's the social director of our village is what I often refer to her as. And so it's awesome for me. I think it sucks for her. I think at a certain point she realized like, well, she's like, it's one of those things she would just do anyway. I mean, I don't think I could usurp that power even if I tried,
Right.
And I have zero interest in that. Like whether it's our day-to-day life or this kind of big extravagant, excursion. So I have no idea how much it costs. I'm sure it costs enough to where like, yeah, that stuff better be included.
Right.
But it all was. And so for me, like that beginning there, the whole thing felt like magic. And we had to sleep on the way over. But I'm looking at the movies and I'm just like, so it's a bunch of things that I, in my everyday life, try not to do. Like I try not to eat too much. These are, again, it's good to have goals. I try not to eat too much. Try not to drink too much. Try not to waste time watching movies. And I'm pretty good about the movie thing because that's where it's really obvious. So like either I can work on my projects late at night when I can still drink and eat while I do that.
Right.
So that's where I fall short. But it's like I do have to make the choice about the movie. So in any event, it's a bunch of stuff I try not to indulge in. But here I was like, well, and I did bring a project and a hard drive, but I was supposed to sleep on the way over. And I was like, oh, these movies, and they keep bringing all the snacks. And I'm just like, I can't wait to go home so I can watch all the movies. And that's what I did on the way home. But so yeah, the flight, we flew Delta. It was fantastic. And we got there and there's Jacko just looking European as fuck. Because I mean, he's lived there. He said, he said over the years, like he definitely feels that is home more so than the States.
Wow.
So yeah, there he was. And then he and his partner Christine, they showed us around. Everything there is bikes. Bikes even have the right of way to cars, I think, in Amsterdam.
Wow.
I could be wrong about
I've heard that. No, I think I've heard something like that before.
Yeah, and we really lucked out with the hotel room the bride found in terms of it having both air conditioning and a refrigerator, because that would be the last time we had either of those things in Europe.
Right.
But it was, and then you could rent bikes. You could rent bikes from the front desk.
Yeah.
I have terrible. I don't know if I talked about this on the podcast before. It's not something I'm proud of, but I have a real stick up my butt about cyclists in general.
Yeah.
I think
I do too.
They're a menace to society.
We are hetero life mates because I think every time I pass every time I pass somebody riding a bike on my road that I have to risk my life to go around because they're
pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah. Which I get it. I'm in a car and they're on a bike. It's not, I owe a responsibility to be of course I would do there's no match there, but it's still but every time I pass one, I'm like, live strong and stay off the juice.
Yeah. I just shout, get a car.
Yeah.
It's just wrong on so many levels.
Yeah.
Why else don't you like them? I wonder if they're the same reasons.
Well, I mean, it's just the inconvenience of I feel we grew up kind of in the country. And so if you if you get on a country road and there's one there and it's like a blind curve, you're stuck behind them, you're stuck at that bike's pace.
Oh yeah.
Until you can see to pass them, because it's just as dangerous to pass them on a blind curve, because if there's another car there and you have to swerve back either into them or hit that car. So, and they don't follow, even though they're supposed to, they do not follow any of the rules of the road.
Yeah, by and large. I'm sure there are, I feel like it's more the opposite of one bad apple spoils the bunch. It's there's one or two good ones in a bunch, and everyone else is chaos.
Everyone, every bicyclist, I've never seen a bicyclist stop at stop signs or half of them ride on the sidewalk and they're not supposed to, which I mean, I guess that's fine too, because I get pissed when they're on the road, but like it's really
not if you're on the sidewalk, because that's the thing. They're menace to pedestrians as well.
Yeah, exactly. It's just they don't follow the road rules. Like they don't follow speed limits. They weave in and out of traffic, like all that stuff.
Yes.
And like they never get called out for it. It's like people like hold them up on this pedestal for being nuisances to society. Like, oh, you're so healthy. Like, good for you, buddy. And it's just like, no. Because if I went 60 miles an hour down that 45-mile-an-hour hill, I'd get a speeding ticket, and they have just as much potential of causing an accident, right?
All of that. Yeah, that's how I feel. And then I work on a campus that's very bike friendly. So the surrounding roads and all that, and then literally just trying to navigate the campus. Like they have their own lanes, but they're not staying in the lanes. They're flying by. You can't just like walk like a person. It's just a nightmare. So I don't have a good attitude about bicyclists.
And you're in Amsterdam, like the bike capital of the world.
And believe me, like I know that I'm wrong in this argument about bicyclists.
Yeah, we're wrong.
It's just how I feel.
Buddy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm so glad you agree, because I usually meet a lot of resistance to that. But so anyway, but we get bikes, but also when I have gotten bikes as an adult, this then being the second time, they're always like the worst bike of the bunch. And it's like it hurts my butt to sit on. It's not the right, like it's just like I got the worst bike and it's a nightmare. It started that way kind of, and then eventually I switched 2 bikes. Like I swapped one out and gave that to the bride, and then had a bad bike for a day. And then the second day switched it for a second bike, and they'd have these numbers on the keys, and there's this elaborate lock system. But the number on the identifying marker on the bike I ended up with was U2.
Oh, nice.
And I was like, this is great. They were like Union bikes, and I could tell that brand was okay. So I'm like, could I get one of the ones with U on it? And never dreaming that there was a U2.
Yeah.
So that was fun. And it was really amazing then to just follow, the locals, my old friend, and around. I mean, we biked so much. It's just like, that's just what they do. They don't drive. And he and his partner are expecting a baby in October, which we didn't know when we booked the the trip. Hi, 11's back, podcast listeners. That's the slobbery noise you hear. Hi. They're not on video today or anything, so no one can see you. You're just like a beautiful nuisance.
Aw, 11.
Okay, Daddy's giving a travel log. Daddy's European vacation. You didn't get to go. But so yeah, that's just the culture there, is that you bike everywhere, and we kind of got used to it. There's a lot of like night biking in the rain. It was really great to have local guides like that, because we saw things we never would have otherwise seen. Go ahead.
I said that about Hawaii all the time when when people, like the 3 or 4 people who came out to visit, I saw them like when they, because I was already connected with my Hawaiian family when I was out there. And the first 24 hours are the most intimidating, because they don't put on a show. Like they're just like, that's just who they are.
Yeah.
And they're like obnoxious, and they eat a lot, and they're loud. They're like Palmers. It's like an island full of Palmers.
You mean all Hawaiians, or like your Hawaiian family?
Yeah, like all that Hawaii, like that whole Hawaiian culture. That's what it's like. It's like, that's why it fits in so well out there. So it was very overwhelming for everybody that came to visit. But by the end, they were like, I'm so glad that I had this opportunity, because I would not have had the same visit. And I learned that if you're going to go through all of that, find a local that's like cool and nice. Like, of course, be careful. Like, don't just like walk out and be like, I'm a tourist and I have all this money and I don't know anything about this place. Like, please show me around. Like, that's dangerous. But like, if you know people in that area, like try to connect with them, because a local is always going to give you like a better experience than like what's put forth for the tourists, because that's always shit. So that's awesome. I mean, that is awesome.
It was terrific.
Did you go to a cake shop while you were there?
We didn't somehow. It was
what?
I know.
Are you I'm revoking your cool card. It's gone.
I know.
That's your only opportunity probably to be in Amsterdam. How long did it take you to get over there and you didn't go to a fucking cake shop?
No.
Oh my gosh.
We were never near one. The first night, I know I just need to give us some time.
I'm just so I don't even know. I don't even know what to do right now. This is. Oh my gosh.
I know. It's hard to explain. The days just got away from us, and having those local tour guides, there were several times where it was just too much for us. We were just
hey, babe, if you went to Amsterdam, what's one thing you would be sure to do? Eat a big piece of cake. That's what she said.
Oh, I know. It's
you're gonna fly on a plane for 17 hours. It would be really hard for you to get back there. You're going to make sure you do that, right? Yeah. Yep. That's an affirmative.
Well, part of it is I didn't make too much of a priority of it for a couple of reasons. One is the biking. And of course we could have made it back to the, we did talk about it would be great if we could get some back to the hotel and stuff. And it just.
It's legal there, right?
Yeah, oh yeah, you take it the most.
Oh, I don't know. I didn't go into Burger King.
Yeah, no, I didn't go to Burger King, but you know what they put on French fries in Holland instead of ketchup?
What's that?
Mayonnaise.
What?
I seen them do it, man. They drowned in that shit.
Damn.
Oh. And that was another thing, and that was actually sort of the major thing that Jacko was sad we never got to, was they call them frites over there, and we never did have any local frites with mayonnaise. But yeah, man. So I guess not to. So we got to see a lot of things too, like the red light district. That probably we did go back there one night after Ireland, and that's when we were going to make up for hopefully maybe get some cake and see the red light district. We did see it from this boat. So Jacko used to live on a boat not too long ago. And so he hired a friend of his or someone he knew to take us and then two friends of his girlfriend out on this nice long boat ride. And we saw all kinds of things. Amsterdam is kind of, the waterway is central. I was gonna say it's built around a river, but I have no fucking idea. I give zero shits about geography, unfortunately, so I don't know these things. But so we saw a lot of things that we didn't see on bikes from the water. We had this great tour guide. Everybody there speaks English. That's helpful. And there was this one time we were coming up, so we saw the old boat where Jackson used to live, and that was neat. And this guy was giving us it was like a tour boat, except for it was with a guy who was just cursing and giving us just talking to us like friends. It was really fun. My favorite moment of which we were driving by this, because people do go there, like Americans or whomever,
with an Amsterdam accent, right? They have
though he was from somewhere else, but he definitely had a European accent.
Oh yeah, nice. And nice.
So we were pulling up alongside this boat that had just people partying, and young people, and there was just this visible toilet on the back, and our captain Rolf just shouted out to them, because we were very close, and it's in this canal or something. He's like, "What the actual fuck?" He was asking them about their boat. So that was really something. We took this ferry out to something called the Eye, where they had a Martin Scorsese exhibit, which was amazing for me.
Oh, nice.
That was the first day everybody was falling asleep, but I was looking at hand-drawn storyboards from Taxi Driver. It was incredible. I really appreciate that.
What a weird thing to just fall into
in Amsterdam.
in Amsterdam.
Yeah. Like we were going to go to see the Van Gogh Museum, but that was it was hard to get into and stuff. So, and we got to see like Jacko's studio where he makes stuff, and that was all really great. But yeah, anyway, so that's the main hits of Amsterdam. And then we went to, we flew to Dublin on Ryan Airways, which as much as I love the international flight, Ryan Airways, an Irish airline, can like eat a bowl of wangs because that was horrible, really? Both there and back. But then we went up to Galway where we took a tour bus up there. No. Yes. And then anyway, we saw that, and that's where actually the bride did a semester abroad when she was in college. So that was fun. She was the tour guide there, and we saw the sights and took then a tour bus to, I don't know what direction it was, but to see the Cliffs of Moher, and that was all really great. And that tour guide on the bus was like, he was an ex-Coast Guard. His whole family were Coast Guard. Was like, you got to have a family of cops. These were all people in the Coast Guard, and those people risk their lives to save other people all the time. And the bride and I know them best from watching The Deadliest Catch. But so once she found that out, she was asking him a lot of questions about that, and he had an amazing Irish accent. He was really cool. That was all very awesome. And then we went, we came back. Then went back to Dublin, and saw U2 in Dublin, which was unreal. And also just to be in Dublin around that time, it's not something I encounter often that U2 is cool. Usually if I tell people I like U2, let on how much I like U2, it's not exactly met with like, oh, me too. Yeah. And that goes back to the cabin days, honestly. I actually became a fan of U2 because at that time I was mostly I was a huge fan of Pearl Jam and Nine Inch Nails, and that was like my jam. And I was like collecting stuff though, getting bootlegs. And so as Jacko and Krams and Bauman were getting into U2 at that time, I thought that they should collect the way I did. And they were kind of doing that a little bit. And so I was making I remember making each of the three of them, and maybe others, an audio cassette dub of the Rattle and Hum film. And Rattle and Hum, the documentary concert film, was the Joshua Tree tour. So I was hearing all of those songs, and that's what made me a fan. So we're essentially in Dublin, Ireland, to see U2 kind of on a 30th anniversary of that same tour, except for this time they're going to play the album like first song to last song in order.
Wow.
And, it's a lot of songs you hadn't, that never really or haven't been played for many, many years. And it was pretty cool, but also so tons of people like us were making this pilgrimage. So where normally it's not cool to like U2, like pretty much everyone we encountered did like U2. And so we ended up talking to people about that. We had a really nice conversation with this couple that I would not have guessed was there for U2. He was French and she was English. And we were joking like that we're Canadian because we were a little embarrassed to be Americans at this time in history and overseas. But then it was interesting. We had this nice, it was a nice discussion about unpleasant topics to where this British woman, their cross to bear is Brexit. And she was like, I haven't really been able to talk to my family about it. And I'm married to an immigrant. And so it was it was an interesting way to commiserate. And then, of course, we then just like cycled back and started talking about U2. But to like be in bars in Dublin and they're like playing only U2 songs, like deep cuts, it was so cool.
Oh man!
And obviously the Guinness is amazing, and I especially like Guinness anyway.
Right.
So we did go to the Guinness.
Is it drastically different?
No, it's not drastically different. It's just delicious, and it's fucking everywhere.
Yeah.
There's like a little mini Guinness town in some way. Like there's a school. I didn't quite wrap my brain around it.
Oh my gosh.
But we went to we did do like a touristy bus thing in Dublin. We went to the Guinness factory, which is
it's like their Budweiser, right?
Yeah.
Like it's just everywhere.
Like it's
right?
it's literally locally brewed, and so the tour of that place was amazing. The bride had done it when she was 20 or whatever, however long that was, 20 years ago. So in her early 20s, and she said it was completely different. They had it like kind of organized like this big glass or pint glass that spiraled up, and you could kind of touch the ingredients a lot of times. And so that was really good. And then you get like a free pint of Guinness at the top and stuff like that. So
that's awesome.
That was all really great. The concert itself is the last thing I wanted to really tell you about. Was as you would imagine, incredible. Also, the bride booked a hotel in walking distance of the venue. So by the time we were like getting back to our hotel, not everyone was even out of the stadium, which was incredible. It was so cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I recommend everyone marry her. But, So we're there. Our seats were pretty far back for this one. As it turned out, she would get up at like 4 a.m. I think it was like 3 or 4 nights she did this to try to get tickets when they went on sale for the show, and then also for Cleveland. We were supposed to go to Cleveland, but anyway, we didn't get great tickets for this one. There was a problem with Ticketmaster, and then as it turned out, we were able to get like what they call red zone tickets, which is right like in the innermost circle for the Minneapolis date that they only announced later. So I will get to see that right up close, but this was the first time I was seeing it and was avoiding spoilers and stuff. I knew they were going to play the album, of course, but I didn't know much else. And so right away, we're not especially close. Noel Gallagher and his High Flying Birds or whatever opened. Noel Gallagher, who wrote all the songs for Oasis. They played some Oasis songs, but I was especially impressed, or I was like into that opening act. I was like, I wanted to look up his most recent work based on this set. So
Ash just asked about them. They like one of their songs came on. We listen on XM in Lithium. Oasis comes on every now and then. And she's like, do they still hate each other? So I'm assuming they do. Like, are they still feuding?
I think they're not. I think they're not speaking. And actually, we noticed that there was an Oasis documentary or something on the plane, and we both watched it on the way back. It was really well done. It was called Supersonic, and I think it's relatively recent. The whole thing is like, it's only voices and then archival footage. And it focuses on their inception to, I think, this like the biggest gig that had ever happened at that point in time, which was in maybe like 96. But then, we fell down the rabbit hole of like what's happening with them. But so that was, he was incredible.
Awesome.
And so in front of us were this guy. He was like, I don't know, like he seemed like he could be right out of The Office. He was like he had bad teeth. He was English. So square. Like, I don't know how else to say it. Just like so dorky. And just like, I can't even imitate it. It's just, he's just such a different, like, not that I'm not square, but he has such a different physicality than me. I can't even, but like kind of even bucktooth-ish.
Like Austin Powers?
Kinda, but if you, but more like he'd be on The Office, like the British Office.
Okay. Yeah.
And he was with his boss from work. That sounded awesome. Whose name was David Brent. But no, his boss was kind of cool, and he looked essentially like a combination of my brother-in-law and Phil Collins.
Nice.
So we called him Terry Phil Collins to each other, which is my brother-in-law. And he had a thick Irish accent. And he was drunk, but like really gregarious drunk. And I've just never been in a show where there's so much singing. Like everyone was shouting, singing so much that like I have no idea if Bono sounded good or bad.
Oh wow! How do you feel about that? Like what? Like did it enhance or take away, or like you're just kind of indifferent to it?
I generally prefer to just like watch a show. I essentially shift my weight. I don't really dance. And I just enjoy it. So I don't really, when I've been to tons of shows, mostly smaller shows by myself, and I don't really engage in that way. And I don't feel like bad about it. I'm like, oh, I wish I could be freaking out. That's just sort of how it is for me. Yeah. Now, the bride is usually pretty reserved. She doesn't like, she's not like, let's go out and dance, or if we're at a wedding, she may or may not like dance. It's, but at a U2 show, she has this thing where she's like, I don't give a fuck. Like, I'm gonna like, oh, I have a tweet. Let me find this tweet. She said, the good example of how she feels about that. But so for me, generally, I don't sing along and stuff, but I know actually she likes me to sing along. So she told me that one time or something. And so I try to do that for her a little bit, but also the guy, especially the square guy in front of us, turned around. He was singing along like, oh yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's just the vowel sounds of his voice. So
yeah,
like,
no, I totally get it.
Have no name. Make him sound like what's the Goonies?
Sloth.
He's not Sloth. I just trying to approximate his vocal timbre and diction, but I've really done it an injustice. But in any event, so he's singing a lot, and he's like looking back at us, and so in some ways I was singing for him. I just sang. The bride says, she goes, reflecting on seeing U2 live in Dublin, she goes, the greatest thing about the show was there was no one standing next to me. Had more room to groove. And I really did enjoy watching her dance. It was like this combination of sort of air drums and just like dancing. But it was like with utter abandon and joy. It was great. So they played. So I won't go through the entire set, but just to give you an idea, because part of it's just the album. Right. But they open with Sunday Bloody Sunday. Then they go New Year's Day, Bad, Pride, and then from there, like this mammoth, the most high definition like screen that's ever existed goes red, and there's a Joshua tree, and it starts Where the Streets Have No Name, and then then it was really moving. That whole thing. I mean, even just those. So much of it's their early material, but so they're kind of the way that they've talked about it is they're trying to treat it as though the Joshua Tree just came out, and the Joshua Tree is this meditation on America, the American idea, and so that's in trouble in a new way, like it was when it first came out. So they're kind of on fire, and they have all this social commentary in their in these videos that accompany every song on the album and most of the others. When Where the Streets Have No Name started, or at a key moment, these 3 planes flew overhead, and they made the Irish flag with the smoke that came out of them.
Oh, nice, yeah.
And so I had my cell phone out, and I was able to follow. We were right in the center, so I followed it up. But I had this little bottle of wine in my right hand, like the travel things they give you. Completely forgot about it and just dumped it down the front of my shirt. So that was interesting. It was just like I didn't even think about it, and it was happening, and I was like, oh well. It was red wine, and it was like my favorite shirt.
And then that British Square is like, that fucking Yank back there just poured all that wine down in front of him while he's taking that picture.
Well, and that wine was meant to replace this entire Guinness that I spilled. Which just was an unfortunate thing. I had it before the show started in between my feet, and it's the guy, when Terry Phil Collins got up in front of me to let somebody by, my feet got caught and the whole beer got spilled.
Oh man.
So the last thing that I wanted to tell you about, and I know I've gone on forever, so I'm sorry. It was a lot of living in a short amount of time.
No, man, you went to fucking Europe. That's not gonna listen, that trumps poor choice of words. That beats anything I'm gonna talk about. So
I don't know, but the Trump thing is a great segue actually, because so they get to this song Exit, which is a great like slow burn, just that erupts into this like rock jam it's an amazing song in the album. Great performance of Rattle and Hum. So it goes there's a little like clip from a TV show. I looked it up. It's from a 1950s show called Trackdown, and in the clip from an episode called At the End of the World, a con man named Walter Trump rides into a western town, warning that he is the only one who can save the residents from disaster by building a wall. I'm reading this from Salon.com. And so one of the characters shouts, "Trump, you're a liar!" And then the screen goes dark, and the band segues into the song. And it was the highlight of the concert, really. It was so badass, and it was charged with that introduction. And then it gets to the end, and Bono puts on this like, it's like a cowboy hat, but not exactly. It's got a more of a flat top and circular.
Rock and roll doggy.
Yeah. That's right, exactly.
Like that hat?
Kind of.
Like that hat? Yeah.
It's not actually that hat, and I realized only recently what it is, and that's why I wanted to bring it up. And because he was saying something I couldn't quite make out, and he's like, I'm gonna actually share this video on Twitter. If we had all the time in the world, we'd watch it together, because the Trump thing and the whole thing is so amazing. There's a multicam thing put together by fans online, but so people can see this. But towards the end, he's like talking into this camera, and it's creating this kind of collage of images somehow of him. And he's like, put your hands on the screen. And he goes into this little preacher rant. And towards the end, he starts to go, well, no, I'll tell that in order. So what I loved at the time, I didn't realize how much I loved till I looked this up. What he was saying was some lines from this novel Wise Blood by Flannery O'Connor that I read in a footnote somewhere influenced the Joshua Tree. So I read it in like 2004. I went on, eventually I ended up reading it again when I was in college, and I wrote a song called Wise Blood that's really just my sort of retelling of the book in song form. And I even have an EP like of remixes, and some of which include sound bites from this great film version by John Huston. So I have a real affection for that book. And then I was looking online, it's like, what is he saying in this preacher rant? He's saying lines from Wise Blood where he's kind of enacting that character in some ways, who gets on the hood of a car and starts preaching the Church of Jesus Christ without Christ. And wow. And he goes, where you come from is gone, where you were going ain't there, and where you are is no good unless you can get away from it. He's saying all these kind of crazy things. Right. But that is what Bono says, which I didn't know. And when I heard it, and I realized, like, oh, that's why he's got that kind of fucked up hat instead of like the rock and roll doggy sort of rattle and hum Stetson. But that alone, I didn't know. It was just sort of impassioned and exciting at the time. And I realized recently that's what he's saying. I was like, oh, that's so cool. Like, for me, I don't know if anyone else cares. But then he starts to go, and he really ramps up by going, eeny, meeny, miny, mo, catch a tiger by its toe. He's going on and on about that. And then he starts to get into like, I'm the tiger, he's the tiger, about the tiger. And I'm like, holy fucking shit.
It's a laughing tiger.
Yes!
It's a fucking laughing tiger.
Exactly. Because like that.
Goddamn
that is what he meant. That is exactly what he meant. Because it's all based on that William Blake thing that I drunkenly read in episode 26. That William Blake poem. And then, of course, it's all about the Stilson character, but who is Trump, and it was just like, oh my god, my brain exploded.
This is fucking outrageous.
I know. So that's
Jesus.
That's the culmination really of it. But obviously, Bono probably doesn't know about the Dead Zone, but he made that same connection to some extent about the tiger. And I'm 100% certain of that, because like their album, remember I was talking about again drunkenly in 26, Songs of Innocence, that's part A and B of William Blake's poems, and Songs of Experience, their new album, will soon be coming out. Anyway, so that's awesome. That's Europe in a nutshell. I'm gonna do a little teaser. There was a time not too long ago where I was like bummed that I didn't have the friends I wanted to have around me, or didn't see my old friends as much. Here I am talking to you, essentially because of the pre-recorded nature of this. I'm going to talk to you again tomorrow. Yeah. And Pumps. Yeah. I Skyped with Jacko today, who saw you two over the weekend in Amsterdam.
Awesome.
Someday he'll have to tell this story for real. But here's what I'll tell you that was the end of summation of what he told me. He slapped Larry Mullen Jr. on the back. He told Anton Corbin how much he loved his work. He gave Edge a drunken cheers, and he shook Bono's hand and said something to him about like America or whatever, while Bono had his hand on his heart and didn't get thrown out by security.
What?
Isn't that fucking nuts?
That guy.
Isn't that crazy?
You know the most interesting man in the world commercials? Like, That's fucking Jackson. Like
It
that
really
like
is.
like the Dos Equis guy. That's why I'm never impressed, because I'm like, I already know that guy.
That
I already know that guy, and all of his stories will beat these because they're real, and that's Jackson.
It is.
Like,
so
fucking Jacko.
he told me that story today on Skype, and he told it in just such epic Jacko fashion, and he kept saying like, I was like, Bono's over there, Jacko, what are you gonna do?
And he talks to himself like that. Like, it's just so great.
I actually didn't, because he's a sort of different guy in Europe. Like, he's this serious artist. And it was revealing to his partner too, to see us spend time together. And he's like, we revert to being idiots. And she's like, you've made more jokes in these 3 days than you have in the last 3 weeks.
Wow.
But it was great to see him so dialed up and so excited about that whole thing. And of course, the story is, I mean, who meets Bono like that?
Right.
And he marched up to him eventually. So someday we'll have him on and he'll talk about it. I did tell him about the podcast, and I subscribed him on YouTube while I was sitting in his apartment. So
awesome. That's great. That's so awesome. And if that, I mean, it, of course he has a child.
Well, not yet, but he will
be having a
soon.
child. But if that works out, that he can join us in December, there's my little spoiler, or my little tease. We will definitely have to remember to have him tell that story, because there will be people even that will want to hear it present.
Oh, it's an incredible, I mean, just to hear him tell any story is really fun, but that was an especially amusing one. So that was way longer than, I mean, I almost did an hour in Europe.
We should tweet out this episode, because we've talked about it already in one episode. But if you think about it, to grab that section of the Cabin documentary about experiencing music.
Yes,
so people get an idea.
I couldn't find that in time before I left for Europe. Thank you.
But just because that's a really good, that will let people understand what we're talking about with him storytelling. Like,
yeah, that's a good idea. So I know I have that someplace. I just couldn't get it together in time. So tweet Jacko. Yeah. Okay. Experience. Okay. So I did an hour on Europe, even though I said I wouldn't.
No, that's fine. That's totally okay. It's seriously not anything. I mean, like that. It's so awesome. Like, it's such an amazing adventure that I have no idea when I will ever get to do something like that. So I'm not saying I'll never get to do it, because that's just silly. I don't believe in never. But I don't know when. So that's just so awesome, man.
Thanks, buddy. So fly Delta, get you and Ash get 2 seats next to each other, and
we're flying first class to Disney.
Are you really? Oh, I can't wait to hear about that.
Well, because part of it is because of the size thing. Like, that you get good seats in first class. Like, you get normal size seats. So I have no problems upgrading to the next class up, whatever the plane is, like paying the extra money to upgrade. I never book it. And that's probably just like a misconception,
Yeah.
That you get it cheaper if you upgrade. I feel like you get it cheaper if you upgrade. That's probably not true. But I think if you search, I always feel like because I've done a few where I initiate the search as a first class ticket, because I know I'm just going to, or like a business class ticket, whatever. Because most of the time, if it's just like a little commuter plane, they don't really have first class. They just have like that business class. Or if you fly Allegiant, like there is no first class. It's just a business class is like the better seats, So but I feel like if I search initially for that, it's like the tickets are outrageous. But like Allegiant, like it's only like $40 one way to upgrade to the next class, like to the highest class, so that's not that bad. $80 round trip to get a seat that fits me. I have more leg room. I'm actually comfortable for the flight. Like, it's worth it for that cost. Like, if I was your size, I'd be like, fuck, put me on the tail of the plane. I don't care, like.
Well, and I do I'm not comfortable most. If I'm in the middle, it's unpleasant for the people on either side of me.
Yeah. And so, so we're flying first class because the plane is big, because they need, Florida, Vegas, like those planes, it's ridiculous how large those the planes that they use for those flights, but it's just because it's a tourist destination, like they want to get as many people into those destinations as possible.
Yeah.
So it's like gigantic planes. I mean, just so huge, which is another reason why you fly first class. Cause it's like, you're going to get off first. You don't have to wait for 800 people to get off before you, you get on first, you get off first.
There you go. That's what she said? I don't know.
No, man, that's so, that is what she said. But so that's awesome.
What have you been? I mean, it's been literally almost a full calendar month since we spoke. What's been going on with you, just in general? Feel free to take an hour.
Nothing. I mean, nothing outrageous. So like I said, this month was kind of like a month off. So the 4th was kind of rough, just because. Oh no, wait, that was July.
That's what I remember about 28. Yeah. That was when I last spoke to you. You were pretty down, and somehow you were sort of deflated about your 1-year anniversary of not smoking tobacco, and that was sad.
Oh yeah, I forgot all about that, because like Ash's brother really deflated me on it, and then it was on top of like the 4th of July was always a big holiday with my dad, so it was like the first 4th without him and all that stuff. So I feel like in this last month, I've really, I don't know. I was in have you ever been in a funk so bad that you only know that you were in a funk because you're coming out of it?
I don't know. I mean, there's the joke in our house about emo Dave, and emo Dave goes back to like being a teenager making the crow. So I do think that I am very fortunate not to suffer thus far, not everything, from clinical depression.
Yeah.
That you have so much less control over, of just then like hopefully reframing your thoughts. So I mean, I definitely get down, but I'm pretty determined not to stay
I mean,
there.
I've been on antidepressants like 3 times in my life.
So you have experienced the chemical sort of thing.
I see, but I don't know. I mean, because it's just none of those prescriptions were written by a psychologist or a psychiatrist or whoever's allowed to write prescriptions. That is actually a counselor.
Oh,
it's always been like my family doctor, who asked like 5 questions. Like the last time I was on antidepressants was my doctor here in Dayton, which this is why I haven't been to see him the last time, or since this last time. But he was like, are you tired? Yeah. Do you have trouble like concentrating on tasks? Yeah. Do you have trouble seeing tasks through to the end? Yeah. Do you get overwhelmed with emotion sometimes, or have trouble just like seeing past like all the like trouble and stuff? Or I forget how he's like wording these questions. But in hindsight, like I'm listening, like I replayed all of these questions, and I'm like, any normal healthy person who's like just dealing with something hard would be experiencing all of those things too. You know what I mean? Like, and so then but like he asked like this series of questions. He's like, hey, you're depressed. You need an antidepressant. And so,
he says like a game show host.
There's no hyperbole on that.
Really?
Like, that's how he said it. Like, that's how he said it.
God,
He's
that's
like,
so odd.
Yeah. Oh man. And so he writes this prescription, and then I do the follow up, and then I'm like, here's the thing. I'm not on my A game. It's making me sleep a lot. And I couldn't like have sex with Ash. Like it was like either I had no motivation to do that, or then if I did like want to, like shit didn't work the way it was supposed to,
Oh no, that's terrible.
And it's not like, well, I mean, shit, I've been so open about everything. I could get a boner, no problem, and we could be having sex.
I'm sorry, that shouldn't be funny, but that is a funny sentence, no matter how you spin it.
I want to clarify. Like, I had no problems getting a boner, and we would like go at it forever. I mean, I just could not finish. And then it's like really bad blue balls because your body wants to finish, and you've like done all the work to get you there, and it's like. Then she feels like frustrated because I'm frustrated, and we're trying to have a baby on top of it, and like trying to get pregnant, and like this isn't happening. And so, and then I go back to my doctor, and I'm like, listen, I can't take this pill. because
Oh.
it's contributing more to my anxiety now that I can't function for my wife. Like, and he's like, all right, well, let's try another one. I was like, I've done my research. That one has the same side effects. He's like, listen, they're all going to do that. I'm like, no, they're not. This one isn't, and this one isn't.
Oh.
And he's like, yeah, but those ones are going to increase your blood pressure, raise your risk of having a heart attack. And you said that you like the one I put you on is ramping you up already. Like you're just pouring sweat all the time. And I'm like, fuck. And so I come home and I'm just like, all right, let's break this down for a second. And that's when I started thinking about like his diagnosis and like how he got there. And I'm just like, what normal person who's going through what I'm going through, what normal person wouldn't answer yes to those questions?
Yeah.
And if that's his only criteria, like, let's just wait a second. Like, so then I tapered. Please, if you're listening to this and you're taking medication, there is not any problem with you taking medication. I am a firm believer in being evaluated, being assessed by somebody who's trained to evaluate and assess those things. If you are on a medication that you have a chemical imbalance in your head, please continue to take that medication. I had a shitty doctor who I have since tapered myself off of that medication. I haven't been on it for probably 4 months now. And I feel like in this last month, literally in the last 3 weeks since I've talked to you, I feel like I'm coming out of this funk finally. Like this year-long. I feel like I've been in a funk since I was in Minnesota since after that. Like, cause like right after that, it was when my dad's illness like really ramped up.
Yeah, you've had an incredibly difficult year.
And then my career pretty much fell apart, and I like left teaching and changed jobs to a job that is totally adequate and fine, but like not at all what I want to be doing, so that doesn't help. And then it's like a horrendous commute through traffic and construction that sucks every day. And so there's all that. It just, but in these last 3 weeks, I feel like my attitude is different than it has been in the last year, which has been awesome. And it's also helped me realize like, oh my God, like you were in a dark place. And thank God for this. Like, thank God for you and this podcast and Moto and Double D and Twinkie and, Mr. J and Shamrock and like all these people. Cause like really, and Ash, especially my partner, but I mean like, this has been I can't imagine what this past year would have been like without this,
that's nice. It's such a great thing. This, like I was saying before, like that feeling like that lack of something, of those irreplaceable old friendships in particular. And that's I wrote an album about it a few years ago when I was in that place. But then to be in this place where, like I said, today talking to you, tomorrow talking to you, Pumps, Jacko, it's a Twinkie, it's and then like I have not met Double D in the flesh, but no person I haven't met has ever been so supportive of me. So.
I am, and listen, so all right, so let's all right. So about me, about you. I am, I want to get this because like the biggest things that I want to talk about on this is like long walk, short drink developments and, which are all great stuff. But so, I have thought in the past, one of the things that helped me get through my first year of not smoking was this show. And part of that was, and I feel like I've said this on episodes before, and if I hadn't, I mean, it would be silly for me not to admit it, that sometimes, like some of those times where I would say, like, if there were cigarettes in front of me, I would have smoked them. Like part of that though is like, I knew smoking stats was like going to be something we were going to come back to. And I remember one episode where I was talking about how shitty of a time I was having, and we just didn't get to smoking stats. And then like the next episode, you were talking about how like you were wondering if the smoking stats, if I was going to have to start back at 0, you know? And I feel like this show really helped me stay accountable to that goal. Again, it's good to have goals, right?
Yeah.
And this happened to be a goal that panned out.
Yeah, that's very nice
so,
to hear.
I have since, so during Whole30, I think I mentioned it on the show. I also joined through my insurance. It's like Weight Watchers Online. Do you remember? Did I mention that before?
I didn't remember exactly the specifics, but I knew it was something through your work that was a help.
So Real Appeal is the name of the program, and that is essentially what it is. We meet once a week. They play a video, a half-hour long video. You get a success kit, which has like a scale and a food scale and a tape measure to measure your waist, and a personal blender to make smoothies, and measuring cups, and the portion plate, and like exercise videos, and like it's literally this big box. It's like this big, you know.
That's pretty cool.
Full of all this shit.
Yeah.
And it's like a 52-week long program. Like you're supposed to meet every week for 52 weeks. And you start and you set a goal, and like they help you achieve that goal. And their app kind of sucks. I like MyFitnessPal and the Fitbit app better, but it does all of that stuff that those apps do. You can track your weight and your steps and blah, 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 your calories, all that stuff. So I had done that. I started that over Whole30, and then that just kind of fell by the wayside. And then we decided to start it back over. And for this past month, I came to the realization, like I felt like I was eating better than I had eaten in a long time. The problem is I was just still, you know, you have to find what's good for your body type, you know, and how your body's going to process food. And I was eating a lot of fruit and you know, if you already have a problem, if your body already has a problem storing carbs instead of burning carbs, which mine obviously does, fruit's not the best choice, you know, because it's going to store those carbs, because fruit's just a lot of carbs. And so I made a balanced breakfast and lunch. And I've eaten the same breakfast and lunch every day for the last 3 weeks.
Really? Do you like it? I mean, it's like a good one, or it's like a ugh.
It's like week 2, there was a little bit of like but I'm to the point now where it's part of the reason I've decided to do this is I need to change my relationship with food. And I need to think of food as fuel. I need to not put as much of an emotional connection to food, which is all of this is like hard. It's hard to do. You know, I know plenty of skinny people that have really unhealthy relationships with food, you know?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. So, which is fine if I had the right body type, I guess. I don't. And so I need to change that idea. And so one of the things I'm trying to focus on is like food is just fuel, you know? I oversimplify that. Like my current philosophy is like really all we do is live to make more poop and pee. That's really all we're doing is making poop and pee. So
so terrible.
I know,
is
but
that
like,
helping
you don't. Yeah,
don't
because like
if it's doing
you're not.
Good.
I mean, no, it is terrible. But if you think about it, though, that's really like it doesn't matter how good the food you eat is. It's going to turn into shit.
Yeah,
you know.
I think Moto has a similar philosophy. Actually, I'm serious.
So it just needs to be fuel. Like you just need to. So my thinking is let's treat breakfast and lunch as fuel, and then just kind of be mostly good for dinner, you know?
That seems reasonable. And like,
yeah.
You know, if it's too ascetic, if it's too restrictive, then it's like Whole30 awfulness. You gotta enjoy life a little bit.
Yeah. And so, you know, my breakfast is 2 hard-boiled eggs, a yogurt, a V8, a low sodium V8, coffee with half and half and half an avocado.
And there's some good shit in there.
Yeah.
Tasty shit.
Yeah. Sorry, and then
tasty fuel that turns into shit.
Yeah, it turns into shit, right? And all of that's going to turn into shit. It doesn't matter.
I like to think about some of it. Like, I don't do this. I haven't thought this is actually going to help me reframe this for myself. But when you talk about the fuel, I like to think about the idea that it fuels like I see some stuff on the board over your shoulder. Obviously, you've been like creative and on fire for the show, but like that stuff comes from fuel that you get from food. So I mean, that's the thing in between the piss and shit.
Yeah.
Anyway, but whatever works for you.
Your world revolves around pissing and shitting, whether or not you want to admit it.
Especially, please.
Yes. So that's all we're really living for. All you're living to do is make more piss and shit.
No way. Those are literally pit stops. On the railroad of life.
You just said your life revolves around it, right?
I know, have to make the pit stops, but then you get back on like fucking Cold Trickle and Days of Thunder, and you go around the track.
I say no, man. Nope. Yes. It's like all you're doing is making piss and shit. Like, this is the same argument I had. This is the experiment. This is the experiment that I went because Ash cracks me up. Like, Ash's parents. Hang on, I should probably because I want to make sure I can tell this story before.
Okay.
Hang on. Hey, babe, can I tell them about the million more people thing? Are you sure? Okay. So, I am a picker. I am a self-admitted picker. I like to pick on people, and I'm bad about it. And I have gotten a lot better than I used to be. I used to be really bad about driving a joke into the ground and not realizing I was driving the joke into the ground. You know, I want to think that most people that do that don't know that they're doing it. So if you know somebody. First off, if you don't know what I'm talking about, you're that person that runs jokes into the ground.
No. I think I must be. Can you explain it for those of us who are that person?
All right. So, I just thought of this the other day. Like I used to know this person who had a dog that if you said chuck, like a woodchuck, it would hunt them. Like it hunted woodchuck. And if you said chuck, it would look all over for it. So anytime this dog was around, I would just keep saying chuck, 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 just like making it look, because I was entertained at this dog looking for it.
Yeah.
But I realized now as an adult, like if I would have owned that dog, I would have been like, fuck that guy. Like he keeps just teasing my, I get it the first couple times, but man, let it go, you know? Right. So I'm like that. So I'm a picker and Ash is my partner. So of course I'm going to pick on her. So
a real glint in your eyes is there.
Yeah. I mean, you just have and part of being a good picker is you just know what buttons to push. Right. So Ash's parents they are amazing. No matter how fed up I act sometimes with her mom and how much I seem to really envy her or respect. I do monumentally respect both of them. They raised 7 kids.
Oh my God.
To all be independent, free thinkers. And really the only unifying thing or the greatest unifying thing between all of them is that they're all related. Mm-hmm. They're all I'm just gonna I'm gonna use a fake last name and say their last name is Smith. All right. So they're all Smiths. You know what I mean?
Smith. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I like it.
But they're that's their unifier. If anything, if at the end of the day, they can always come together on that. And then, there's 9 people in this family and they're trying to raise 7 kids. And I know, my mom tried to raise 2 kids and it was strapped. I can't imagine what that was like. And so to avoid, I think they created this amazing self-defense of well, we're Smiths. and our shit, not our shit don't stink, but like we are better because we are Smiths. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Does that make sense?
I can see how that would be not like a shitty thing, but it's just sort of a unified,
like it's a defense mechanism. Like we're Smiths. You know what I mean? Like that. Like
absolutely.
Like that. Right. So I started this thing. I just happened to say this the other day, and it, like really, because one of the things that I really take to heart is any idea that you have, at least 100 other people have had that idea. Right. So that's why you have to act on it, because there's 100 other people already that you're competing with.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so I just took that by extension. And so like she said something, and I was like, let's just say, like for sake of argument, like, let's just say, like, I look at how perfectly I peeled this apple. And I just happened to look at her, and I was like, there's at least 1 million other people in this planet that would have peeled that apple better than you. and she's like, whatever, shut up. I'm like, babe, like, let's just break the sheer statistics down. There's 7.1 billion people on this planet. At least 1 million of them are better than you at peeling that apple than you could ever hope to be. And like, and you could just see it, like, we're like, the sheer number is just like, you son of a bitch. Like, she just has that look on her face, like, you motherfucker. Like, why would you say that to me? You know? So long story short, too late. In these last 3 weeks, I have been eating the same breakfast and lunch, and then trying to like be good about my dinners. We restarted the Real Appeal, and Ash and I have been doing it together. Which has helped. But I came to this realization I've been really ramped up in the last week on long walk, short drink stuff, which I think, like, this is a good segue, because it's just going to come, like, all that long walk, short drink stuff will come out, and then we can end on a little bit of King talk, and then we'll wrap it for the day.
Yeah.
I really ramped up on long walk, short drink stuff just because we had a staff meeting like right before we went on hiatus. And I feel like there was stuff I was supposed to do. And then I realized in the last week, we've had 3 weeks off, and you didn't do any of the things that you said you were going to do. So I was trying to ramp up and just get all of this stuff done. But in the meantime, because I've been really trying to be careful, I realized, I thought about in the last week, like I've reached a milestone with smoking stats. Like, if I were to bring those up right now, I have not been a smoker for 1 year, 28 days, 12 hours, and 35 minutes. So almost 1 year and 1 month. I've not smoked 6,689 cigarettes, and I've saved over $2,000.
Nice. Yeah.
So, I mean, that's really cool, but it's like, I feel like, okay, what's next? You know what I mean? Like, I hit a year mark on not smoking, and I know that that's a big, I'm not trying to belittle that. I like how fucking, like, because our listeners are going to be like, okay, from episode 28, you're bitching about how, like, you don't even get to really enjoy your 1 year anniversary. And now on episode 29, you're talking about, like, what's next? Fuck that. We hit a year. What's not? Like,
I just think that's like, amazing. Like, I would just want to, like, take it easy.
No. So I'm like, I mean, you can always do better. That's always true. That is another one that I always believe in. You can always do better.
That's a brief, it's not even a story, but that's just a truism that the bride, or that's a thing in our house. The bride said to me one of those times when I was being emo Dave or whatever years ago, she's just like, get it together and do it better.
Yeah.
And so that's like, I wrote that on like a Post-it or something and put it on the wall. And that's kind of a mantra at times.
Yep. So you can always do better. And so I was like, and if I was a listener, we're coming up on 30 episodes, and like that spans almost a year of time, and heard about all these smoking stats and everything. And I like the smoking stats too, because if anything, that regardless of when you join long walk, short drink, for those first like 29 episodes, those are like, you can use those to actually gauge the time span of those episodes, how they occurred in the real world, right? Like, if you were a fanatic like Double D and like wanted to look at those like details.
I would be that
like
way.
That.
Yeah.
You know,
right. I mean, I am that way about this show, but I would be that way about other shows.
Yeah. So, but I was like, okay, so now what can we do? And I mean, like the weight loss. So this kind of like all merged together where the weight loss thing was kind of happening on its own. And in my experience in quitting smoking, I'm realizing that a lot of the same tools and mindsets I need to have because I'm still dealing with addiction. Like this time it's food addiction.
Yeah.
So I like looking at that and I'm just like, you know, this is the next thing. I bring these two things together. So instead of smoking stats, I really think now it's going to move towards health stats, you know? And so
yeah.
we can do the smoking thing still if that happens to come up or if somebody's curious about that. But I really think the new count is going to be, I'm not sure if I want to do the weight loss thing because I do believe that it is healthy for that to like, it shouldn't, yes, I should be losing on average over time. But I also don't want to get discouraged if 1 week I don't lose as much or maybe I gain a little, you know?
Yeah, that was the one thing when you mentioned it to me off air, I was thinking, it's like, I will support you no matter what, but I'm glad to hear you say that because I think in order for something like that to be successful, I don't know that it can be so mathematical. Yeah, in terms of at least emotionally, like that would bother me.
100%. Like I have consistently lost over the last. I've lost a little every week since we started Real Appeal this last time, or since I really got serious with it was probably over the last like 3 or 4 weeks. But I've lost every week since then. I'm almost to the point like I want the week where I have gained a little or I don't lose at all, just because the longer it takes for that to come, the harder it's going to be to cope with it, like for it not to affect me. You know what I mean? Like, because every week that I go where I've lost a little more, I've said it makes it stronger. Like, oh, well, this is what it's going to happen every week. You know, like it's another like case against like, well, this is how it should be every week, which I don't believe it should be. I think it, you know, if I'm going to enjoy life, which I still want to do, like Disney, I'm going to consume a month's worth of calories while I'm at Disney.
Yeah. Be a cheap, you know what I mean? What week, right?
Yeah. Like
as it should be.
In 1 week. And that's going to happen. And I hope I gain some weight while I'm down there. Like because that is what I should do. You know, I should enjoy it. But then that's good practice to come back and reacclimate myself to my healthier lifestyle. That's what makes it a treat, you know? So, I just like the accountability portion of it. So I have lost 20 pounds, like over 20 pounds.
That is that seems like an awful lot to me. That seems super impressive. How does that feel to you?
When you already are this big, 20, like Ash gets so frustrated. She's like, you didn't do anything but cut out soda and you could lose 20 pounds. But it's like, yeah, but I still weigh 440 pounds. Like, awesome. It's awesome. Again, I don't want to belittle it, but like she gets discouraged because I keep losing and she's like not losing as fast as me. And it's like, would you like, okay, I lost 20 pounds. Would you want to weigh 440? You know, of course not. You don't want to be as big. Like it's all proportional. Like if I just went down to 2,000 calories a day, I bet if I could just stick to that, eventually I would be down to 300 pounds. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like just because like that's portion, but eventually I'll hit a plateau and then that's where I need to like step it up. So I just like the idea of that being a forefront of conversation because I know it did help me with smoking and potentially might help me with weight loss. And if you know, if it ends up like where it starts to be a problem, like we'll have that conversation off air, I guess, and it'll just like fade out or whatever. But,
Sure.
You know, as of right now, I kind of like it. And
we find the right, just like the rest of the show, we find a way to make it organic and healthy. Most of the time when we're talking about that on this show, it has to do with sort of our emotional lives or the hours in the day or whatever. But I do think that's an important element of this, is finding the right way to do it to where it's motivating for you, but also
right.
Yeah. Like always a force for good and not, you know,
exactly.
You did the most extreme thing with that whole 30, and that was intense, and you shared all that with us, which is incredible. But that's not the kind of, it's not especially sustainable.
No, I don't want that again. I don't want that again.
And I mean, I myself have been this last year for the first time. I mean, I've tried various things to whatever as my metabolism has changed over the years, but I've tried always like radical things, because the one time in my adult life I lost a lot of weight, it was in a radical situation. So
right.
None of that sort of work, and I have sort of high cholesterol and these kind of things. So for the first time this year, I was like getting tested for levels and getting certain things sorted out, getting my butt cut off at various.
Yeah.
But the whole thing was to try the more conventional, you know, doctor recommended balanced diet methods, and so I do exercise, but it's not like I can't find it in me to like make time to go to the gym. I think I've talked about this before. So I haven't got these levels tests and stuff, but I have been making an effort. I essentially eat the same breakfast and lunch. I've been doing that for a really long time, actually. And I don't mind at all. And then I actually, you know, come to think of it, I try to do exactly what you're talking about. And then dinner, it's like I tried to be good, and most of the times I am.
Yep.
Or maybe I don't know how many days out of a week. But so I guess what I'm getting at is that I've been trying to find a way to do like integrate it into my life in a really sustainable way, that the goal being health. Like for me, I understand I've done these types of things or tried certain things. I've tried all kinds of things. And I realized that in order for me to truly transform the way that my body looks, I would have to make it the central focus of my life, and I'm just not going to do that. So
yeah, which I'm not going to do either. And I think part of that is I feel like I'm way different than a lot of people who want to lose weight, in the sense that I weighed 200 pounds in third grade. I have been big literally my entire life. I don't know any different. I don't know anything else. I've never let my weight stand in the way of what I've wanted to do. You know, if I want to climb mountains, or I want to go hiking, or I want to go swim out in the ocean, or I've always gone and done it. Two big motivators right now to make this change. One is I know that this lifestyle is not sustainable. I've probably already done irreparable damage to my body that I will have to pay for eventually, some point in my life. Two, and both my parents died, you know, so I need to be cognizant of that. The other piece is like kids. We want to have kids, and I want to be able to keep up with them. So there's that piece of it. And then the other piece of it is my weight. I've never let my weight get in the way of me doing what I've wanted to do in my life. But I have noticed in the last 2 to 3 years that my body just doesn't. I mean, you had to get your butt cut out. That's how old we are now, Dave.
I know.
That's
this is what we're looking at.
That could be something that we have to do, is get our butt cut out, or you know, like I walk too much and my knees hurt the next day, like bad hurt, like you know, like yeah. Or you know, I deal with my back being tight in the morning because my bed sucks, you know, like, and that shit we never had to do. And I've just noticed that has accelerated so much in the last couple years. And it's a direct result of how much I weigh, you know? So I wanted that, like, all of those are good reasons to change, of course. And I just can't keep living this lifestyle like this. It's going to catch up to me eventually, you know? Yeah. And I'm not going to get any warning. Like, that's going to be the other piece of it, is like, I'm not going to get that like, oh, well, this is your wake up call. Like I weigh 460 pounds. I'm not going to, it's not like I'm going to get a warning heart attack when it comes. It's going to be the heart attack when it comes, So I just don't want to do that. I want to be as proactive as I can. So
it sounds like I can kind of join you in particular. I'm not going to put, I'm trying to keep my own sort of healthy boundaries on things as well, but especially at least in terms of, I guess what am I getting at? I think that it'll actually be nicely motivating for me as well to remind me, because there's similar goals, a different sort of whatever starting point. I guess I'm not necessarily trying to lose weight. I'm trying to stay healthy, stay alive, and not have a heart attack as well, because that's a big thing in my family. It's something we can talk about together.
And that's, I say the weight thing, I think that's just going to be, and this is something healthy that I think this is as healthy of an outlook as you can have on weight loss. Get healthy and let the weight loss be the byproduct of that. Those changes. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. That's what I've been thinking for the first time in my life this last year. And it's a shift, it's a different, that was a shift for me. The idea of like, okay, I'll do these things. Hopefully it will make me more healthy and we'll test my levels in 6 months or whatever. But you're probably not going to I'm saying to myself, like, you're not going to look different. You're just hopefully going to be more healthy. But
I think though, it's like, especially if you're a big person, big like I am, walking every day, eating right, not spending the entire evening in front of the television, any person is going to benefit from that. And if you do those little things, and just be patient. My real motivator on this, I wish I would have even written the woman's name down, but it was just happened to be this woman on the Today Show who she just looked at it as she didn't say it in these words, but this is how I equated it. Is like she lost weight, all of her weight. She went from like 300 plus pounds down to like, under 140 pounds. And she lost her weight all in like 2 pounds at a time, where it was like the current pound that she lost and the next pound that she lost. She said, I would get on the scale and I'd be like, okay, you lost a pound. Now lose one more. Like just lose just one more, Yeah. And then she would work until she lost that 1 pound. And then she'd say, okay, now, like, you lost that one. Can you lose one more? And that's just the idea that, like, so I guess that does have like a definite focus on the weight loss, but it is more the health. It's just that weight loss part is going to come. It's just a natural byproduct. It's not natural. In like the other piece of it too is like, it's not natural to look like, 6-pack abs are not natural. Like those aren't naturally occurring. You know what I mean? Like, I like those are as unnatural as my gigantic belly, like and both of those took a lot of work to get. I just want,
that's interesting. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
right. Yeah.
I just want that, I want that middle ground. That's what I want. So, yeah, but so that was like one piece. And I thought like how I really have, I feel like I keep long walk, short drink. Maybe it is part of, I don't know. It just means so much to me. So it's always on my mind, it's always on, and I'm always thinking like, what can we be doing better and different? Like how, and I think that grew out of those first like 9 episodes where it was like the watching a seed come out of the soil, like we grew it, and it was really organic. And this mentality has stemmed from that, where it's just like, what's the next thing? Like but this isn't, and as amazing as Long Walk Short Drink is right now, I always feel like we're on a stepping stone to the next level of what we're doing, And I feel like we're on that precipice, and this last week really was awesome. So there's that, like the shift towards healthy stats instead of smoking stats.
Yeah.
We finally, I think we solidified the long walk, short drink staff retreat for December.
Yeah, like, that's a great way to put it. Yeah.
I think that's happening, and that is. I remember getting the idea for that, and it was the middle of the night, and it just like popping into my head, like just as I was about to fall asleep. And I remember sending the texts out, like, this is what we should do. And, man, is that awesome. It's so great that that's all coming together. So
just while I got a text while you were doing that, and it just said, not much more to say, smiley face. And it's from Moto. And I'm like, oh, that must accompany some media. And it's like 1.5 minutes from American Ninja.
Like, oh, that's awesome.
I think he gets El Rey Network. Do you know what that is? The El Rey Network?
Yeah. That's
Do you get that? No, you don't.
No. If you have Sling TV, that's on Sling TV though.
Oh man, that's Robert Rodriguez's network, and I swear I'll go through it, and it's just like, oh, I want to watch that. I want to watch that. I want to watch that.
Yep. Actually, America Ninja Warrior is how Moto got the nickname Moto.
Of course, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, because I would love. Oh man, that song is like so perfect and just like it's so good. Yeah, Moto.
It's so much more fun because Moto was like, he wasn't like a skinny kid growing up. He was always built like a brick shithouse.
Yeah.
But now he has a little bit more meat on him than he maybe did 10 years ago. So it's so much more fun. Like he likes to make jokes like Kung Fu Panda because he still loves what's the I can't think of mixed martial arts. And so he's always like showing me little things and just like, how you doing? So you can still move.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Not for nothing. This is another super short aside, but we were doing this thing in Amsterdam, and there was like tickets to something small, a little arts thing. And the bride was like, she made Jackson do a trick for one. And then he's like, what are you going to make Dave do? And she's like, kick as high as you can. And I have been recently stretching and trying to, like, I've been trying not get in shape, but like I've been getting back to doing things like pull-ups and whatnot. And I miss being able to throw my legs around. So while we watch TV, I try to make a point of stretching for a few minutes. So I was able to do it. I like tossed up like a crescent kick up by her head. I was shocked. I'm like, oh my God.
That's awesome.
I was a little Kung Fu Panda as well.
Oh, that's spectacular.
So yeah, Moto.
Well, I would love Moto to tell because Moto would probably be able to explain this better, but in the second run of WPLMR, he was on that show. Like he was a cast member on that show. Not a cast member, but a staff member of that show, and was on all the episodes of that second run. But at the time, his group of friends that he hung out with outside of that show, I mean, because like I met him through you, like
yeah.
But his group of friends, they made American Ninja Warrior stuff and then would hang out and eat cake and drink beer and play poker and then there was this whole garage setup that was all like. They had the finger wall stuff that you had to do and they would like practice that like it was like just for shits and giggles. And so Moto was like my Japanese take towards that, like Hello Moto is what that Hello Moto. But
yeah, we should get into that sometime. I know he and I both owe you Swiss Army Men or something in return for Cyborg.
Oh yeah.
Because I was just thinking like Moto never really had like an introductory episode.
Yeah.
So it may be a little late for that, but there's certainly time to like introduce.
I would love a whole like Tommy Maplewood episode of just like where we just like delve into the. I would love to talk about So I Punched Him.
Oh, he's done. We still do to some extent when I get together with my nuclear. George W. Bush ruined that word for me. Am I saying that right? Nuclear is the wrong way. Nuclear is the right way. family. Usually it evolves or devolves into Moto stories at a certain point.
Yeah.
Because there's so many of them.
There's just so many good ones, and just like he's such a Moto is like one of the most sincere people I've ever met in my entire life, and just like so polite and just so awesome. But I have this innate fear of him in the back of my head. Like that it's just like, because you're just, you know what he's capable of, you know? And it's just like, I just want to be like, I want to be there to see it. I don't want to be there to receive it. You know what I mean? Like, I love that kid.
We should figure out a way to do it like, not Enter the Moto, Return of the Moto.
Yeah.
There's got to be a way. We'll find a way.
But
okay, sorry.
I love him. I like him big. I like him plumpy. Has been playing in the background this whole Moto talk. So, all right. So let's talk about some cool other long walk short drink developments. So first off, Twinkie is officially staffed.
Don't you fucking call me
The seat
Twinkie.
is always open for Twinkie. So Twinkie, if you're hearing this, you are, I know we had this conversation like one of the last times we were on, and you're not able to make it every Wednesday, and we don't always record on Wednesdays. So just know the seat is always open and you are officially staffed. So
again, we're done.
right now it is looking like all of Long Walk Short Drink staff from Colorado, Minnesota, and Ohio are meeting in Des Moines, Iowa.
Yeah.
Fucking Des Moines, to see the new Star Wars movie in December and record a reaction to it, like an episode of the show in person, which is just so exciting. And like Double D and I we talked for about an hour and a half yesterday just about projects that we're going to work on for the show. I feel like my duty, like my role right now, which I am totally okay with, I love doing this, is like kind of like the show secretary almost, like just kind of keeping things organized and on track, like the outside, the peripheral stuff, you know, like you and Moto have like all the editing and the technical aspect of the show. And I know there was a period where I was really struggling to find my place in that, and I feel like this is what it's evolving to, and this is awesome. So well,
let's not forget the easily, I mean, at least 50% of this show itself. Like there wouldn't be a show. I know what you mean. Like there are outside off mic duties, but like
but this part, like I think because this part is like so fun, I don't count this part as like effort. You know what I mean? Like
I know what you mean. I don't feel that way either.
Yeah, like this, like but for all of this to get out to people does take effort, you know. And then it's always like, well, how can we do it better? Like, what can we improve? Because you can always improve, right?
Yeah.
And so, so that's happening. That's really big. I started talking to Double D. That's what's behind me. I got rid of this
is the first time in ages we haven't been talking about the Dead Zone. I mean, I know we didn't on 28, but that feels so long ago. I know for the listeners it was recent.
So I got rid of the Dead Zone stuff, and this is our web plan, like our web development plan. So we have 3 phases right now. Phase 1 is getting ready to start. We're gonna start working on that.
Tweet this board or
I don't know. I'll send you a copy of this. I don't know if I want to tweet it yet, just because I'm sure there's going to be some rearranging and stuff. But
yeah. There's a lot on there. All right, tell me about it.
We are building an empire. That's what's happening. Yep, just like that. So so phase 1 is just all about Long Walk Short Drink, essentially. And all that is really getting a web page going that has maybe a link to our the first version of our store for merchandise. We're going to update the branding so it discusses like when episodes get launched and when recording sessions happen for the live broadcasts. We also want to be able, like, that main page that people come to would have like the current episode would be available right there on that page.
Oh yeah.
places for them to subscribe, places for them to see past episodes or get to past episodes, an about us / contact page, which I cannot wait to see the bio that some of our staff members put together for the about us page. Like, it's going to be so
self-identified.
Yeah, no, oh man, yeah. Like, there's going to be like a Moto page and a Twinkie page and a Double D page, and they can be anything.
Very interesting.
Contact us. And then like a Twitter feed somewhere in there. That's kind of just phase one. It's just like really simple, just a simple web page, probably just one, like a couple sub pages, but everything's kind of on that main page. What I was thinking with that was using one of those for this initial phase while I learn HTML and all that stuff to build like the actual website that we want, which would launch with phase 2.
Oh, wow.
As we start to build our empire. So here's some things that I'm thinking for this phase 2. This is where the empire starts to spread out a little bit. So
expecting you.
A fully functional space station. Fully operational.
We should double our efforts. Sorry.
So phase 2, like here's some of the things that I'm thinking for phase 2. Some of these you will know about. So Double D's project, I would like see that being in there in some where there would just broken down by episode, all the things we talk about and everything. A request form for people to like request us to either see a movie and talk about it or talk about a particular topic or to get our take on it or whatever, or bits or, themed episodes or whatever, where a listener could fill out that form and it would automatically filter into a web sheet for us or a spreadsheet that we could then so if we're ever stuck for an idea, we could just go to that.
Oh yeah.
Do that.
Mr. J did a request recently.
Oh really?
Yeah. He wants to do, so he sent me, his parents got him a Jim Croce album that he already had. And he sent it, he asked me if I knew of that singer or whatever. And he sent it to me. And I got it and listened to it, and I liked it way more than I thought it would. I don't know like a better way to say that other than
that's that bad Leroy Brown guy, right?
Yeah, like that's what I thought. So I thought I was like, oh, that's that guy. But I did actually really appreciate the album, and he was like, oh, I'd love to do a show on singer songwriters and folk singers, and he's like, I will do this singer and this singer. I was like, all right.
Oh, that's spectacular.
So there you go. We have our first submission.
Absolutely. Shows in the pipe, which would be like our list of like all the things that we were like, oh, we should do a show on this, like a show on singer-songwriters. That would go on that list.
Yeah.
But then have a voting system for fans.
Oh, very cool.
To like kind of rank those. So like, again, if we were stuck, we'd be like, well, the fans say they want to see this. So then we go see that.
Prioritize. Yeah.
Now we are starting to get into the experimental stage of phase 2. And this is how it starts to become an empire. I'm going to start blogging / vlogging.
Oh, I like this.
My health journey.
Yeah.
Like that's going to be tied to my health journey, which will be housed under the Long Walk Short Drink Network. Like
nice.
So the blog is going to be my blog / vlog is going to be named something totally different, but it's all housed under the Long Walk Short Drink umbrella. Right.
I like it.
Another idea that I had for that would be, Double D sent me or called me out of the blue months ago. This is probably like 3 months ago. And, he's like, do you have some time to talk? And I was like, absolutely. And it's not unheard of for him to just be like, oh, can you talk? And we just talk about whatever. And so I'm like, yeah, sure, absolutely. So we're talking or I pick up the phone and he's like, so I watched Big Trouble in Little China.
I remember when that happened.
Yeah. And I'm like,
oh, yeah. He was going
to
to like it. And when he did, I was like, that's karate in the garage. Because if you come to that movie at that point in your life and you love it,
yep.
I love you.
So I have this idea of, I mean, that was the birth of his project, and I don't want to spoil that. I really want him to present that But I thought one thing that we could do, like a quick, easy one-off piece that could fit into this long walk, short drink umbrella, is that if he decides to experience something, we just have a conversation, like the conversation that we had over the phone about Big Trouble in Little China, have that on a Google Hangout that we just put on our YouTube page. Like, it doesn't even get put out as a podcast episode. It just goes on our YouTube page, and it's just right now the working title for that is the Double D Palmer Train.
Fuck yeah.
So
I would get on that train. That's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. And just like a short conversation about his reaction at like experiencing it as an adult, because most of the stuff that's on that list, we have some nostalgic connection to it. You know, it's not like we just, there are things that are new that we experience, but a lot of the stuff is like, it means something to us. Then to get this, he would basically be the proxy for Long Walk, Short Drink, where he would be like, whatever we talked about that he experienced, he would be giving his reaction to it now as an adult, as a grown man.
I do a little bit of that. I can appreciate that extra, because it's Double D, and two, the tie of the show and you, but I so much stuff has gotten by me over the years, Stephen King among them, that I'm encountering things that most people have seen ages and ages ago. So I'm not saying I should get in on that, but like, I love the idea all the more because it's something I relate to that. Like, I'm on board that train.
So my blog/vlog, the Double D Palmer Train. And then this is the third one, the Dave and Moto 9 Inch Nails podcast.
Oh, yes. Oh my God.
Which again, doesn't have to be anything outrageous. Just like, do 45 minutes every couple of weeks about 9 Inch Nails, and just you and Moto just talking about how awesome Trent Reznor is.
That'd be amazing. That'd be easy.
Easy, right? Like,
that's what we talk about anyway.
And then all of a sudden, but then by the end of that, now we are an empire. You know what I mean? Like
oh yeah, they're in a way they're like different shows, kind of.
Yeah,
they're a network.
Yeah. So like phase 3 has plenty of room, but that's store 2.0, and that's where we finally like we're commissioning the merchandise, and we're handling like all the distribution and stuff. Store 1.0 is like those kind of stores where like the on demand merchandise, where you give them like all your artwork, and they have everything from coffee mugs to shot glasses to t-shirts that branding would fit on all of those things. Like they're like scalable vector graphics that they could put that on anything. And so your listeners or customers go to that web store and they see just generic versions of all those things. And if only 2 people order coffee mugs that month, they only print 2 coffee mugs. And then you get a kickback for every piece that's sold. So it's, store 1.0, we're not going to make any money on. Like, it's going to be, and this isn't to make money. I mean, like, I need to be careful about that. But like, we would essentially be directing traffic to somebody else, and we would be getting a kickback for anything that happens, just like we would for audibles, right?
Sure. And we get I would order some of that stuff so that gets to exist.
Oh no, absolutely. So that's going to exist. But if we start getting enough, what would happen is we would start ordering that stuff wholesale and distributing it ourselves. You know what I mean? And then we're not getting a cut. By that point, we're making a profit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, which that's way down the road. But like, this is another thing that has come from this hiatus that we've been on, of just like, this is where we can go.
Yeah.
I feel like.
Oh, that's all very achievable. I'd love to get, I don't know how to put it in there, the phase 2, like, I don't know whether it's just an umbrella like Dave's Endeavors or something Dreaming Out Loud centric, because I have that ongoing sort of Shout Factory approach.
Oh yeah, of the Cabin Kids like that. I mean, we could very easily. We could have like just the cabin We could just call it the cabin, and that would be under phase 2. You know what I mean?
Fun. Yeah, you just kind of go there, and there's this
and it's
stuff.
just like this rabbit hole of that,
That's really fun,
stuff. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And we could even shout out to that project or that page like repeatedly, like when we have cabin kids on there, or like, oh, go to the cabin.
To the cabin. That's amazing.
Like, go to the cabin and look for this. We just posted this, and dude, that's awesome! Like,
that's
come
really
on, that
fun.
That just
that
just came
really
there.
Good.
I'm putting that on.
You're
there.
on fire. Absolutely,
Yeah.
The cabin. That's perfect. Because I love this idea too with the website. I mean, it's fine. Twitter has been the chosen thing. I like that. It's something else that, like, right now, that's where you can go and see the visual accompaniment to the podcast, essentially. But also that it's like time stamped, and you can see it evolve over time. But I really like that idea, whether it's episode pages or all of these things, that you're not going to someone else's black hole where there's like counts. Like, you have 12 followers, and people see that and they're like, well,
they aren't anybody.
But I love that idea. You enter this kind of world of the website, or you go into the cabin and you just kind of get lost. In the fun of it all.
So I just think. And this is how we start to get that empire idea of, I didn't want to be presumptuous, because you've worked so very hard on all of those outside, like the archiving of the Dreaming Out Loud stuff and keeping all of that. But all of that would have a place in this. And this is a result of that. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, it's all a bigger thing. It's funny. We were talking about Kevin Smith recently, and this sounds like it's going to go a long way, but it's not. It's just literally like a 2-sentence thing that I wrote down. He says it all the time, and I realized that I had this kind of light bulb moment recently, where he's talking about Clerks. Like, Kevin Smith is the guy. He built and literally he did build an empire on one movie, Clerks.
Yep.
Which is him sort of making a movie about him and his friends, like the way that what they talked about Star Wars and fucking and like bullshit, and that was not in movies, and so he put it into a movie and it grew into this thing. But so he's always saying, I can't remember who it was in his life that told him, he's like, look, nobody's ever gonna make a movie about you and your friends, because he would bitch about, like, why don't people just make movies about this stuff that me and my friends talk about? And someone's like, no one's ever going to do that. If you want to do that, you're going to have to do it yourself. And he did. And I was just realizing, it's like, oh, I'm literally doing that. I've literally been doing that for like 20 years, and not making a fictional version. I've literally been making a movie.
Archiving.
Yeah, like making movies, making projects, documenting these people, not in a fictional way, but in a realistic or in a documentarian way. And yeah, but I was like, oh, wow, I am kind of making that movie that I want to see, not quite in the same way as that it existed.
And I really think that this is going to be the house for it. I think that
I love it, or Airbnb of what life, or of the internet for now. It's fun to have a place to go to see it. That's where a lot of the archiving came from. It's like, what if I'm drunk at 4 a.m. and want to hear Pilgrim Mate? It's like, I need to find it.
You go to the cabin. That's where you go.
Fuck yes.
Like, do you know how awesome it's going to be able to say, go to the cabin, and like, let's go to the cabin. Like,
that just blew my mind. That's so fun. Because we were joking earlier, I think today on text or something, about, it's like, or yesterday, whenever it was, like, the Long Walk Short Drink has become this kind of virtual cabin for
of 2017.
Yeah. Wow.
Which is this, and that's what I was trying to tell Double D yesterday about, like, if you and Moto come with me to Des Moines and we do this, like, it's like, you're literally going to be like, it's going to be two of my newest friends. I get to hang out with two of my newest friends, close friends, with two of my oldest close friends.
Yeah.
And like, and I mean, Moto's your brother, and you and Double D have since talked and like formed a friendship and all that stuff. And I was just like this is so, it's just so meaningful to me. And I like to buy in, and I learned this from you. if it's meaningful to me, it's meaningful to other people. So that's what you need to like, that's what you need to embrace. And that's what you need to document and put out there is what's meaningful to you. And like, it will find somebody who will find it meaningful also, you know? And I don't know. And I think that this is like a great way to just keep feeding that sickness that you have of documenting us, because like now with Pumps coming on, like this is like the next round of those Cabin Kid interviews. You know what I mean? And I can see like over time how we slowly like weave those interviews, like we catch back up with them individually, you know, and everybody gets a Cabin Kid episode. And then we have like an updated interview with all of those people to just add to that archive that you've created, you know? And oh, that's so exciting.
It is.
It's so exciting. And I fucking love the go to the cabin.
Yeah,
like,
I can't tell you.
Where do you go if you want to see Pilgrimate at 4 a.m.? You go to the cabin. Fuck! Like, come on, man. That's so fucking awesome.
And especially too, like I at first when I mentioned it or when I was thinking about it, it's like, well, this seems like kind of a long walk, short drink centric thing. Would all the, because that is literally like an quote unquote empire I've been building since 1998.
Yeah.
So it's like, in some ways earlier. So like, does that fit or but that's even better because it encompasses all of that, but it actually encompasses it in the vernacular of the show. Yeah. I mean, it would be wonderful without the show, this idea. I don't think I would have ever come to that though. Cause I did I had these public facing channels and then I was realizing like, I don't know if any of these people would be cool with this existing. But anyway, that's so exciting. Listen,
no, totally exciting. So, all right, let's.
I also feel licensed. We could put a bunch of stuff up there, especially if that's the only place you could find it. Because like the idea to those people that like, where do you find like this is available on the internet? Yeah. In the cabin.
Yep. In the cabin. It's in the cabin.
Not like on YouTube public or whatever. Just like, you got to go to the cabin. That's amazing.
Well, I mean, you know, we really are at a premium in the sense that any of our video content we can host for free on YouTube and then embed it in our own page. Like that, like we're just in such a great time. And it's been like this for a while. It's not like this is, I know I'm speaking to something that people have been doing for almost a decade, probably longer than a decade. But like in the early days of making a web page, the idea of hosting video on your web page, like you would have to pay your eyes tooth for that. And then it looked like shit.
Yeah.
We can embed high definition video in our web page and it doesn't cost us anything extra. That's why aren't we taking advantage of that? You know, like all you're really out is the time it takes for you to create it, obviously, but it's already created. So the time to upload it to YouTube, that's really what you're out. And then you embed it. Like, why not take advantage of that? Man.
Yeah. It'd be all that shit. There'd be the book, as was recently digitally remastered, the growing library of albums. Yeah.
Like
all these videos I made over the years and continue to make.
Yeah, so awesome. So all right.
Well, that's amazing. All of that is incredible. Thank you for I don't know, busying your brain with that. That's pretty exciting.
We have the clip show the episode 30s coming up. That is the longest run Dave and I have ever had on any of our like episodic creations we've done.
Yep.
So we're going to celebrate that with a little bit of a clip show, and we're hoping for a full long walk short drink staff on that episode.
Yeah, I like it. Well, fuck it. Let's without further ado, let's get in some King talk.
Honey, come on over here, sugar buns. This machine just called me an asshole.
We haven't talked about Stephen King in so fucking long.
Well, we haven't had like a proper King corner in a long time.
A long time. And that's what it feels like. I feel like all we did was talk about fucking Stephen King, but we talked about the Dead Zone Stephen King for like 5 weeks, like 5 episodes straight. That's all we talked about. And there's been so much Stephen King development since then. Like that's happened since then. That's happened. Like, I feel like, was the It trailer out? Like the teaser, was it out before we started?
I think we watched it on the show. I don't know if it was like in a segment prior to our Dead Zone book club part, but I remember watching that one on the show.
We're speculating, and I'm sitting here looking at the internet.
The supercomputer, yeah. Oh, before we get in, I know because you've shared all these things, and I've mostly just been reading Firestarter, so I'm going to listen a lot. I have this beer that I'm going to open. It's called a Milk Stout Nitro. The bride's cousin introduced me to this, and I thought I knew it's
that's a really good beer.
Brewing. Yeah,
I thought Left Hand Brewing.
With this, but I wasn't. And I think I am with the beer, but they figured out a way to bottle it, and it says keep cold, pour hard, and there's a diagram on the back that tells you how to pour it. Have you ever done this?
Yeah, you like tilt it upside down.
It's amazing. So I'm gonna do that, but I can crack with you if you've got something to crack.
Yeah, I'll crack this on right. 3 and 3.
Now I'm pouring hard.
Pour hard. Man, that's great sound.
It's such and then it just like
it's
stops.
Like getting a Guinness.
It doesn't overflow, and it does that whole beautiful like Guinness thing. Like it. Comes up from the bottom. Boddingtons,
any of those beers that have widgets in them, that's how you're supposed to pour them to get that effect. Like
I didn't know that. Oh, even like the Guinness cans that have the widget.
Yep.
Oh shit,
you can do that. And Boddingtons that have the widget inside of them. Like I love Boddington's pub ale a lot.
I like that too. What's that with the yellow can?
Yeah, it's so good. But any of those widget ones, I found if you pour them like that, you'll get that same effect. Because really, you're forcing the nitrous to be pushed into the beer as it's pouring, as opposed to just coming out the lid of the bottle or the can.
Yeah.
Which is the whole point. That's how you get that nitro. So
that's magic.
That's awesome.
So I'm excited to drink that as we get into the dark world of Mr. King. Take my first gulp.
The kingdom, as one might say.
Yes. All right. So, man, where do you even start? What was the first thing you thought of that were like, oh, I can't wait to talk about this on the show?
So it probably would have been the Kingdom trailer, just because it's the Dark Tower is the reason. This is going to be a bold statement. The Dark Tower is the reason why this podcast exists.
Wow. Oh, I could see. Yeah, go on.
Here's my 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon on that, okay? I love the Dark Tower so much that I start in my life reading it listening to it on audiobook every year, right? In that, I start to pick up all the connections to other Stephen King books that I have read, which are only a handful other than the Dark Tower book. I start to find those connections. So then I connect to those books on audiobook. And then in those books, I start to see other connections happening to other Stephen King books and the Dark Tower books, which then makes me say, holy shit. At one point, I remember the decision. I was like, I just need to do all the Stephen King books. Like, that's what I need to listen to. And then I will have consumed like the entire universe. So I'll get all the references when they happen on any Stephen King work. That was the only way it made sense to me. So then that's what led me through the like multi-year journey, which in 3 years down the road of that is when I see you and tell you say, no, you tell me I'm listening to all of Stephen King's books in chronological order. And I'm like, I've been doing that for the last 3 years, which then leads to us staying up all night, like realizing we're hetero life mates and then saying we should do a podcast all over again. Yes. And then we should do a podcast and then leading to us having a podcast with a King Corner on it where we talk about it. Right. So Long Walk, Short Drink, that's one of the reasons why I love the Dark Tower books, is because they are rife with references to other Stephen King's work. And so that trailer epitomizes one of my biggest draws to, like, I love secrets. Like, that's why I love conspiracy theories. That's why I have an ear for conversation, is because I love to, like, I listen to people and I absorb that. So that way there's no secrets, you know, like, and I love discovering secrets, and I see all of those connections are like, and Easter eggs are all those, like, these little secrets that like that's Stephen King, just like he's winking at you, letting you know, like, isn't this cool that when you escaped into this book that you read 3 years ago, that book takes place in the same place that this book takes place in, that you're escaping into now. And they're two totally different stories that take place in two totally different time periods. And there's one connecting character that happens to be the third cousin of some minor character from the book that happens to play a major role in this other book. Like, isn't that just like, that's mind boggling to me. It's like the Black family tree from Harry Potter. Like, if you were to have this room, I'll see if I can find this article, but crack.com did a great article that was like, fan obsessions that went to the extreme, basically. And there was a woman who spent a long time making a map of all the connections of Stephen King's works and like how the characters all connect together. And she spent like numerous years doing this, like, cross-referencing. And then she was picking up and starting to do one for the Dark Tower series, and then how those connect to everything. And it's like that's what I picture is like in King's head, is this like the Black family tree of his works. And every story, he's like looking for a way that he can fit it into the tree, you know, like he's trying to fit that story in. And that Kingdom trailer totally nailed that. Like, it had really, this was my first indication that the movie was not going to be very good. Is like, that was a promotional trailer put out for that movie, and it was horrendous animation. Like, it's like Pixar generation 0.5. Like that's how bad the animation is. It's so plasticky, and like the fire looked really wonky in that one, in the Carrie shot. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
The anime that I mean, if you're gonna have, Sony doesn't put out third-rate teasers. You know what I mean? Like they're like, wait, did I say Sony? I meant like Disney or in Marvel. Like, they don't, when they put out a teaser for one of their things, like, it probably looks better than the movie's going to look, because they want to entice you into that trailer.
Yeah.
So that was my first indication that the movie was not, that Sony had pretty much written it off, that they were just done. You know, like, they were putting no more money. They already had a lackluster rollout for the movie. Like, I barely saw any people being interviewed or promotions. Like, I saw movie, like commercials and stuff, but I don't know. It didn't get a huge blitz, in my opinion.
Yeah, I could see that now in retrospect. Fuck ton of commercials. Because
ton of commercials. Yeah.
So many. I'm still seeing them.
Yeah.
But
you watch a lot of TV. I don't watch a lot of TV.
Yeah.
So I missed that.
It's funny. I actually asked the bride the other day, like, trying to see if we could somehow get away from cable, because I watch things on a television, but I think I talked about earlier in this episode, one of the things I try not to do is, you know, just watch movies and stuff like that. So, but it's not like I don't watch stuff. Of course I do. And we watch things together, especially she and I, but she loves her DVR. And she said that, she's like, no, I got to have a DVR.
Yeah.
So I do see commercials and stuff like that when she doesn't, you know, when we're too lazy to fast forward or something. But yeah, I did never see, even just peripherally or whatever, like Idris Elba or Matthew McConaughey or Stephen King, like in that chair, like in the press chair, like talking about the movie.
And it's like Stephen King's opus, and he wasn't out like promoting it, you know, like you didn't see him out. A lot of really telltale signs. Again, we'll get to it. But anyways, that kingdom and just the wittiness of King capitalized dumb, like the kingdom, and just and you really have to know, like, all of those references though all have a film based on them. Did you notice that?
Oh yeah. I mean, there
was none like straight from a book.
Right. That's interesting. Yeah.
It was like, so for those of you who haven't seen the trailer, we'll definitely tweet it out so that way you can see it. But it basically goes through, it's one continuous shot that goes through doors and windows. And as it goes through these doors and windows, it starts out in the hallway from The Shining, and then then there's a scene from like the prom scene from Carrie is in there. There's a deserted roadway. That's The Stand. And there's a double one in that because the license plate on the one car that you can see is the same license plate from Christine, which is like
nice.
Yeah. And I think it's actually a Plymouth Fury. Like it's a rotted out Plymouth Fury that's on, which is Christine's car, like the car that Christine is. There's what else? What other ones does it go through? Oh, it goes through it goes down into the sewer, and you see a balloon floating in a sewer. You don't see any characters. It's just all scenery. But it literally harkens on one of the best parts of the Dark Tower series of books that the movie does have Easter eggs in it. Like there's a picture, but they're all in the trailer too.
Oh,
another telltale sign is
Mr. J hit me to the trailer. It's been a while. I don't think I talked about it in the show, but he's like, "Did you catch the song in the Dark Tower trailer?" And when he sent me that, I think we'd watched it, on the show and stuff. And so I was like, oh, maybe there's a new trailer. So I'm searching it out, and I didn't find a new trailer, but it was like this music box. And I was like, should I know what that is? And I started to think about it, and I was like, oh. And then I double checked, and it's the music box it's that song it's played on a music box in one of the Man with No Name movies, I think for a few dollars more.
Got it.
Which of course, it's famously known that that's the character that the gunslinger is sort of physically based on and stuff.
Right.
So I thought that was a pretty interesting tidbit. And it felt like for me, for a while, I thought early on we had heard that King really was on board with the movie. Maybe that's wrong. But then we get Entertainment Weekly here at the house, and McConaughey and Idris Elba were on the cover. And that's where I think I got a Dark Tower spoiler, as I was trying to read about King. There was like a King sidebar where he connects some of his books and so it did seem for a while like it was, we were kind of excited for it. So it was only like in the week
I was
leading up
hopefully
or so.
Optimistic. Like that's
probably And I didn't realize your reservations until pretty close to the drop date.
Well, I mean, there were obvious signs. Again, well, okay, so we'll just get the Dark Tower out of the way, because that's what I don't want this whole time to be just devoted to me bitching about the Dark Tower.
Well, feel free to like spoil stuff and whatnot, because I think I'm less worried about a spoiler than I am excited to hear this movie filtered through someone who knows those books so incredibly well.
Yeah, I'm not going to do that though. Because like that's one of the things that I love about those books is like I love hearing people experience them for the first time, and like I thought I totally spoiled the Dark Tower to Ash. Like early on in our relationship, I was like, these books are about X, Y, and Z. Do you think you'll ever read them? Because they're really important to me, and I connect to them personally, and like really, there's some pieces of the philosophy in them that I get behind, and they're just really good lessons and examples in these books that are probably unintentional, but I found meaning in them. And she's like, it's got X, Y, and Z in it. And I was like, yeah. She's like, no, I'll never read those. I was like, okay, so I'm going to tell you about them then, so that you just understand where I'm coming from on some of these things, because I'm going to reference these a lot. Like that, they're just going to come up a lot. And I spoiled the whole thing. And then in the last like 4 or 5 months, like once I got that whole set, like the whole hardcover set, she's like, I think I'm going to read Dark Tower this summer. Like I was devastated. I mean, I was excited that she was going to read them, but I was devastated that I had spoiled the whole thing. For like, I told her the whole ending, like the actual ending of the book. This is the one thing I'll talk about the books, is the books end. And then there's a warning from Stephen King that says you should just walk away right now and like say that this is the ending. But if that's not good enough for you, there's a little more, but you should really think about it. Like you should just take my word for it that it's done, because even though what I have left is going to satisfy you, there will be no satisfaction in it. So when I got to that point, I debated it for 3 days. Oh, wow. The first time I went through these, like I turned off my iPod. I had raced through the entire series because it was just so good. And like the narrators, it's like the series is read by the two best narrators I've ever found. Mr. George Guidall and Frank Muller.
Oh yeah. You've talked about them. I didn't realize they tag team it. That's fun.
Well, it's only so it's either Muller or Mueller originally read The Gunslinger, The Drawing of Three, The Wastelands, and Wizard and Glass. And in between, this is, I personally think this is something that Stephen King regrets. One of the reasons why he hated that it took so long for him to finish the series was in the time that Wizard and Glass came out, which is like the mid 90s, to Wolves of the Calla book 5 coming out, which is 2003. Not only did he get hit by that van and almost killed and left the story unfinished, but Frank Muller, who King, I guess, really respected, and he said that the Dark Tower, he confided to Stephen King that the Dark Tower series was his favorite series of books that he had narrated.
Nice.
Which King found, like, took very, very personally. Like, he really respected that. Got in a motorcycle accident and ended up passing away in between the 4th book coming out and the 5th in the mid 90s and the 5th book coming out in 2003. Like all of that happened. And so that's when George Guidall then took over the series. He read then 5, 6, and 7. And then Stephen King re-released the first one as a revised and updated edition. And then George Guidall read that updated edition of the very first book. So if you want to hear, like, because I consider the revised and updated edition of The Gunslinger the true edition of The Gunslinger. I know that totally like goes against what I would say for movies. But for some reason with especially with Stephen King, I let it slide because one, I trust his hand at making sure that new content fits and enhances as opposed to changes the story.
Yeah.
Which you read The Stand, like you kind of got experience with both editions of The Stand, right? Like you have
except for that I didn't experience truly what the shorter one would have been. There were times when I was curious and kind of looked back to see certain things, what was cut out, or I was trying to keep track on an original edition with the expanded edition I was listening to. And I just couldn't figure out even where it was. So I eventually got the revised one, and that's really the only one that I know. But I find it interesting that he was talking about in the introduction to that book that I was trying to think how he put it. He wasn't necessarily putting it. I think he was saying that like the one that originally came out he had to trim all this stuff. He chose what he trimmed, and he was happy with it. And he's like, some people say that's too long, but if you're interested to just know a bit more about certain things, then this is the where you can go to find it. So yeah, I would definitely be curious to be able to contrast those differently. But I just don't know any different. Like I know with the Crow, James O'Barr said a similar thing where in that case, he and the guy that eventually started to publish the books, they just figured comics could come in any increments of any even pages, but it turns out it's only like a few different options. It's like 16 pages or 32 pages or something like that. So he started to trim some things early on or not finish things. I don't know. So then once the movie came out and it was so successful and everything, from like 1997, and I think it finally came out in 2011, there was teased like a author's edition, like a special edition.
Yeah.
And it is really interesting. It's really cool, but it's just, for me, I was so familiar with the completed story as it came out in 1993 that the editions always stick out. So anyway,
I think with the Gunslinger, like the first of the Dark Tower books, he fixed continuity stuff that the first, I always, when I recommend the series to people, I always say the first one is like, just get through it. Even I read in The Road to the Dark Tower, I think is the book that I read, that Stephen King himself recommends skipping the first one and starting with 2 and reading book 2 and book 3, and then reading book 1 and then 4.
Oh yeah, I think you mentioned that one.
Because like they're all kind of, and then you end up treating the Gunslinger as like backstory to figure out how the characters got where they are, and doing it in that order, 2, 3, 1, 4. You're putting that backstory in a very logical spot in the series of like book 3 ends on a cliffhanger.
Yeah.
And book 4 picks it right up right at that cliffhanger.
Mm-hmm.
But if you kind of wedge 1 in there, either before or after 4, it's a good spot to fit all of this backstory in and like fill in all the gaps that you might have.
Yeah. Yeah. What's the Star Wars order? Do you remember? It was similar. Somebody recommended something like that. Maybe it's like 3, 2, 1, 4.
I know what you're talking about, but I can't remember what that order. It was so dumbfounding to me that I was just like, I can't even begin to think of it like that. Like,
yeah.
It was like, because it bounced in between the original trilogy and the prequels, and in some order that was just like, but the way that it did is you were essentially, I think the goal was it spun it so you were watching it from a certain character's perspective, maybe. I don't know. Anyways.
Oh yeah, I think I found it. So.
Oh, did you?
Yeah. Oh Jesus! There's various schools of thought. This current one says 4, like New Hope, Empire. Oh, this does. So this is called the Machete order. New Hope, Empire, Episode 3, and Return of the Jedi. Oh, basically skipping the first 2 altogether. I can see that.
Yeah.
Because after you would basically, basically it just skips 1. So you New Hope, and then you find out Vader's his father and Empire, and then you go back and get the Anakin story a little bit, enough to like see him fall in love with Padme, and then like go to the dark side, and then come back and be redeemed from the dark side. All right,
with Jedi.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah. No.
Yeah, no, it's too weird.
I do not treat well, and again, acknowledging the prequels goes against my Star Wars universe rules, my own personal Star Wars universe rules.
Love it.
So,
what are those?
Those when I finally like had Ash watch the original trilogy, I told her, because I have one of the only official digital versions of the original trilogy, the original non-special edition trilogy.
Oh yeah.
That Lucas released one time, and out of spite, the motherfucker, all I wanted was the goddamn official. I wanted an official DVD version of the Laserdisc edition. That is like, which is considered to be the best official digital version of the original trilogy.
Yeah, the Laserdisc edition. Even though
because
now
there
it would
were
look bad to us because they didn't fill the screen and all that shit.
Yeah. Like, and I totally get that now. It would look shitty to us. However, that there were tweaks that he did to that did actually improve Star Wars. You know, like they did. Like he did a really nice touch up for that one, the originals one last time. Do you remember that marketing campaign? If we would have known what he meant by that, like
I was always fascinated by what he meant. And so the cleaned up effects and all that, you know, was beautiful. And then I think I know where you're going with the versions they did make available on DVD.
so then fans all get pissed and they say they want the original. Man, be careful what you ask. This is a great lesson to be careful what you ask for. Yeah. We want the original versions of the films on a DVD. That's what we want, George Lucas. That's what we want, George Lucas. So in one of the 98 editions of the original trilogy, he released one version that you had to buy them individually. They did not come as a box set. They were a 2-disc version, where the first disc was the updated, whatever the current special edition was that was out. And the second disc was literally the original, like a really shitty transfer of the original release of the film. So when I say that, Star Wars is just called Star Wars. There is no episode 4 New Hope. It's in mono. It's not even in stereo.
Oh, I forgot that part. Oh,
like there's zero. It's literally like it would be the day it was released in the theater. That's what it's like. Yeah. And so that's the closest thing you can get to an official digital copy. And I have those. And that's what I showed Ash. And so when we were watching them, I said, just so you know, if we become a Star Wars house, as a Star Wars house, these are some rules that we follow. These are the only editions of these films that exist. Yoda is always a puppet. Han shot first.
Yeah.
In the prequels, never happened. And she's like, okay.
He slips a ring on her finger.
Yep. So we did buy a copy, a trilogy on Blu-ray of the prequels, just so you do need to see those once, I guess.
I have that same edition that you're talking about, the double disc, and that's what I watch. Just zoom in or something. But what is nice about that one is it does match the prequels as released on DVD. So all together, it's kind of cool to see one thing.
Yes.
And the one good thing about the prequels that I think I mentioned before, I like the documentaries, particularly for episode 1. They're like feature length documentaries with no talking heads. It's just like cinema verite, like takes you through the process. So I do like that. And then this last year I did get this most recent Star Wars Blu-ray, like the whole saga. I haven't explored too much of it.
Man, you keep falling in that trap, dude.
Well, but here's the thing that really got me, other than them fucking taking shit away sometimes, like Disney does, because they are Disney now. Yeah. Was they put together commentary tracks based on period specific, probably interviews and stuff from the actors for the original 3 movies.
Oh,
and I was like, oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
And probably all kinds of stuff, and it looks beautiful.
Sucker. Yeah.
But
but fucking Hayden Christensen's in the ghost scene.
Yeah, I know. I wonder if they have
that's a travesty.
Wonder if
Don't get me started. This is a fucking king. Sorry, this is a king corner.
Yeah, let's get you this riled up about the king. All right, sorry, I finished my mood or whatever. I was left-handed thing. Now I'm drinking Miller Lite. So
all right. So.
Oh, you're talking about the Order, Gunslinger, all that stuff.
Yeah. So here's. Let's talk about adaptations. All right. Let's say that in your town that you're living in, there's a really awesome donut shop. Okay.
Okay.
And in particular, there is one kind of donut that is just phenomenal. All right. You really, really like this donut a lot. You like this donut so much that when friends come to visit from out of town, you take them here to watch them experience this donut because you like to share it, because it means a lot to you, because it's just always been there and it's been a part of you, you know, and it's just awesome. And then one day you find out that there's this huge restaurant chain that's like, good news. We really like your donut too. And we're going to make it so that everybody can have your donut. And you're like, that's the greatest idea I've ever heard, because yes, other people should have this donut. It is awesome. And then they reply to you and they say, we think the same thing. Everybody should have it. That's why we're making it a China buffet. And you're like, why would it be a China buffet? Well, more people like China buffets than they like donuts. So we're going to put in we're going to make it a China buffet that everybody can have.
Instead of a donut?
Instead of the donut.
Interesting.
And you're like, okay, I guess. And so then the China buffet opens. And you're like, all right, let's go check out this China buffet that's supposed to be like my donut. And you go there and there's not a goddamn thing like your fucking donut. Not one thing. Is the China buffet stuff good? Yeah, it's a China buffet. It's like sex. Like, even like a shitty China buffet is still all you can eat, right? Like,
it's a China buffet. Yeah.
It's a China buffet. So then you go home and you're just like, you feel like you got force fed a ton of shit, but you're already hungry again because it was really empty. Like there was no passion put into any of that food that was on that buffet. And that's when you realize that's what made that donut so good, is because it was just little and small and you get to enjoy it by yourself, you know, which not by yourself, but like, it's just like that passion is there. And then you remember, shit, I still live in this town. I can go get that donut anytime I want. Who cares if it's a China buffet?
Yeah.
That, like, I'm still going to take my friends and be like, you need to have this donut. And that's how I feel about the Dark Tower movie.
That makes sense. I've heard similar things at times. And there's an old, well, I never heard it from the source, but there's a Raymond Chandler quote, like, how do you feel about what Hollywood has done to your books? And I heard it by way of James O'Barr, the the author of The Crow. And he goes, fucking Hollywood hasn't done anything to my books. They're over there on the shelf where they've always been.
Yep. And that's exactly it. So is the movie good? No. As a movie, it's not good.
Oh, that sucks.
It's 90 minutes long.
Ooh, that's weird in this day and age, particularly for such an epic saga. Holy cow.
Yeah, actually, this is the reason why I didn't record anything, because there was a really good video put out, like everything wrong with the Dark Tower or whatever. So I'll link that too.
Yeah, I was encouraging Palmer to do a video review when he came home, not realizing it would be this travesty.
Oh, I really was being hopefully optimistic. Like, I mean, it's Idris Elba and Matthew McConaughey, two people that I think are fantastic actors, acting in literally my favorite story. How could that be bad? Right?
Yeah.
And it is because of Sony Pictures doesn't give a shit. And who's that? Let me look at this. It's like they were like, what does Batman and Robin? They named all of these like iconically tanked movies, Dark Tower being one of them. And what does all of these movies have in common? And there's a common producer. It's like,
Akiva Goldsman. Akivia Goldsman. I just looked up. I'm like, who did this movie? And I don't recognize these names.
Let me see.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Not great. This guy's filmography. Well, no, but he did Batman Forever. There you go. Batman and Robin. Yeah. He also did a Time to Kill screenplay. That actually came out all right. But I see a lot of things here that are not great. He does a lot of adaptations, I'm seeing.
Yeah. So, and that's the other thing. And adaptations go both ways. So here's the thing. The reason something gets adapted is because it grows a large enough fan base to merit it. Right. And I totally get it, Hollywood. Like, especially, like, look at Stephen King's fan base. You hear, like, if somebody were to be like, we just bought the film rights to, if you didn't know anything else but who Stephen King was, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they came in and said, we just acquired the film rights to Stephen King's opus. And that's all they said.
Oh, yeah.
You'd come in your pants, right? Like,
yeah, of course.
Like, you're like, awesome. But in the grand scheme of things, of all of Stephen King's fans, there's a very small group comparatively that are Dark Tower fans.
Yeah, yeah.
So when you get the rights to this film, you're not getting Stephen King's fan base. You're getting Stephen King's Dark Tower fans.
Yeah, yeah.
So I totally get it. You have this giant thing that you just don't know what to do with because it's a book that's, I mean, shit, the last two are over 1,000 pages each. I'm pretty sure.
Whoa, wow. I mean, if anything, this should be like the fucking Harry Potter series. You know,
yeah,
like those kind of many films,
yep,
etc.
And they tried to cram all 7 books. There were pieces from all 7 books in an hour and a half.
Oh my God.
So originally I was really ecstatic because I found out that they decided that the movie would be a continuation of the book. Which if you know the book, you know what I'm talking about. And so that was really exciting to me because that did free up the idea of no matter what this movie is, my books are never going to be touched because they're not even trying to adapt those. They're just trying to continue that story. A lot of Dark Tower fans really got upset about that because they were hoping to see some of these iconic things happening on the big screen, which my take to that is there is no Hollywood producer that's ever going to nail your imagination. Your imagination is literally the best at pleasing you, right?
Right, yeah.
There's no filmmaker that's ever going to be able to match what your imagination could do.
Or even be able to grasp it, you know? It's an individualized thing.
So like and that's exactly it too, is it like, so expecting that a film adaptation for a book that you read, that the series of books also came out across 3 decades. So Stephen King changed as a writer in like these books coming out, like they're not going to be able to nail that. There's no way. But just be thankful that you still have what you experienced. So man, just don't see this movie. It's terrible. Go read the books. The books are so much better. I'm still hopeful about the television show. I mean, I'm never going to not see something that has the Dark Tower on it. If a book has Stephen King's name and the words Dark Tower on the cover, I'm going to read it. If a movie has Dark Tower or The Gunslinger or something like that, and Stephen King's, and like based on a story by Stephen King in somewhere in the title, I'm going to go see it. Or a television show, I'm going to watch it. Like, and I'm always going to be hopeful that those things are going to spark in me what the original books did. And if they don't, then I at least find comfort in the fact that I still have those original books.
Yeah, that's a very healthy attitude.
So, in good Dark Tower news, though, I did get, this is the next thing that we can talk about. Did you see that? Did you see that picture of that art that I purchased?
Oh yeah, I'm gonna go back and check that out. I didn't realize at the time you sent it that it was something that you owned. I thought it was just something you found a picture of on the internet.
Well, no, I mean, that's how I found it. So again, Reddit, like love Reddit, on r/Dark Tower, the Dark Tower subreddit, I was like just on my Reddit front page, this artwork comes across that is really, really astounding to me. I have tons of art all over my house. And all of it speaks to me in some way. That's why it's up on the wall, right?
Yeah.
And I also rent a lot. And usually with rentals, you can't paint. So it's easier to like spackle one nail hole that it takes to hang a giant picture than it is to repaint an entire room that you decide that you painted, even though you weren't supposed to, right? Yeah. So I always look at, I can hang art and spackle those holes before I'd paint a room. So I leave the walls white in my rentals and I hang up pictures. But this is the most I will have ever spent on art. And from an actual, like it's an actual artist.
Oh, cool.
Like, but I reached out, like I just happened to scroll through the comments and he was like, there's more of these available. Like, just hit me up. Here's my email address. And so, let's keep track of this. Cause it's like, I'm not going to get this art until October and I still have one more payment that I'm supposed to make on it. And that's all without having the art yet. So this could very easily blow up in my face.
Layaway?
Yeah. He had to make a deposit on the printer. So he's a screen printer.
Oh, okay.
So he designs the what gets printed and then he sends that off to be printed. And so he has to like make a deposit. So I paid my portion of the deposit for my pictures, right?
Oh.
And then once it's done printing, then I pay him the rest to ship them.
Cool.
Lyndon Willoughby is his name.
Where's he from?
His website is willowstration.com. But this guy has a lot of art or like film inspired artwork and like kitsch stuff. So willowstration.com. Yeah. So that's what I sent to Twinkie. willowstration.com. Check them out. Great artwork. Really, really awesome stuff. I think, that's a Gunslinger one. So the Gunslinger print is on there. So you can see that kind of up close.
Yeah.
But if you just look, there's like really good, all of the good iconography that from the book that I like imagery from the book that I like is in this artwork. And there's one of these for all 7 of the books. And they all kind of form one bigger picture together.
Oh,
it's really, I mean, just in the way that he chose the colors, they all form like an arch. It's not like a definite picture, but it's like they all work together. But like you see the man in black, like climbing the mountains is in there and the rose and with the world in the middle of it and the guns. It's just fucking awesome.
This one in, I can't quite read the title of it. I can't read the title, but, it looks like Dr. Doom. You know what I'm talking about? From the Marvel universe. I guess he hasn't really appeared in. I think that's right. I think Dr.
No,
Doom
that's exactly right. And that's exactly what he's supposed to look like.
Oh, that's awesome. That's great. I love it when that seems to happen in the Stephen King universe. Like the gunslinger is supposed to look like Clint Eastwood, and then I know in the Maximum Overdrive that the Green Goblin is on the front of that one truck. It's just fun that those things are what they're supposed to be, I guess, ultimately, or what I'm like. Oh, that reminds me of such and such. It's like, well, it's supposed to. That's kind of fun.
Yeah, so my favorite Dark Tower book is the 5th book, Wolves of the Kala, which is what that one is.
Oh, yeah. I was having trouble reading it, but I see that.
Yeah, Wolves of the Kala. And Wolves of the Kala actually is loosely based on the Magnificent Seven, which is loosely based on the Seven Samurai.
Yeah.
Wow. So there's that. The force that they're fighting are the wolves, who all look like Doctor Doom, essentially.
Wolves look like Doctor Doom? Like,
yeah, they have wolf masks, but they like have these green cloaks that they wear and like ride on horses, and they look like Doctor Doom. Like the one character was like, they really look like, and then another character cuts them off and he's like, Doctor Doom, right? From Fantastic Four. He's like, yeah. And that's when he's like, and this whole thing that we're doing right now really reminds me of this movie that I saw called The Magnificent Seven. Cause all these characters get pulled out of New York from different time periods.
Oh, wow.
And, so they're starting to piece together these like pop culture references. It starts to become really meta. But the wolves, so wrap your head around this, because this is the last spoiler that I'll give for the book.
Okay.
The wolves look like Doctor Doom, wield laser swords, and throw these golden flying heat seeking grenades called sneeches.
What?
That are standard army issued JK Harry Potter model.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That sounds so not what I'm imagining these books to, what I have imagined these books to be. That's so kind of, to mention something that's happened in the last 15 years seems so odd to me.
Yeah.
That's cool though, I guess, but that's great.
Yeah. So, but that one's my favorite book.
Wow.
So Lyndon Willoughby, definitely check him out. He's got great art on there. You can order just about any of it. Do you see that Shining poster that he had?
Oh, I didn't actually click on it. I'm going to though. Oh, that is very cool.
So these are, I like that last one with the hornets or the wasps.
Oh, there's several. Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. Oh, Jesus. Oh, that's really.
I don't know. The red one with the snow is pretty awesome.
Yeah. Oh, wow. I didn't realize if you clicked through that you would get the full.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that'd be a series. I click on Blade Runner now. Just curious. Oh, wow. I want to grab this one notebook because like what you were saying earlier reminded me of this thing that the bride told me literally on the way home that I'm going to tweet for her, but haven't yet. It was something, what you were saying about Ash asking about the Dark Tower books. Like, does it involve this, this, and this? And then she's like, yeah, I'm not going to read that. The bride is on a long road trip today, and she had this book along with her she was listening to. And then she was I was like, oh, how is it? And she's like, oh, it's good. It's actually the third in a series that I've been listening to over the years. And I was like, what's it about? And she's like, none of your business, which is what she says anytime I ask her like what she's doing, what she's looking at. Oh, no, she says none ya. Because she did that to me over the weekend. We visited this amazing record store that I had never been to. Record and DVD, everything. I don't even know what to say about it. I'll talk about it again someday. But I was getting a record there that it was a big place. She was far enough away, and she's like, "What are you getting?" I'm like, "None of your business." And she's like, "Oh, I'm gonna remember this, and you're gonna pay." I was like, what do you mean? You say that to me all the time.
Yeah.
She's like, no, I say Nunya. It's different. It's lighter. So,
It's lighter.
but so anyway, I asked her, and I was like, you can tell her, I mean, I'm not going to make fun of you. Just, I was curious what the book was about. She's like, vampires, witches, and demons. I was like, oh shit. Cool. And he's like, but it's got some historical fiction as well. She starts like defending it. I always get shit for liking things that she calls aesthetic. Like she describes sort of rich language, but not a lot of like forward momentum and plot and happenings as aesthetic. And so she's like, this is very aesthetic, but it's got all these other things going on. And she's like, I don't mind aesthetics as long as the aesthetics involve magic. I think is what she said. Which I must not be remembering that entirely right. But anyway, and when she said that, all I could think of was when you said on this show once in utter earnestness, because she was saying that earnestly, but I started cracking up. But you said on the show one time, he's like, that's not how magic works. I don't remember what it was in response to. I just remember I loved it so much because you were totally serious.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's my Dark Tower travesty, my Dark Tower art. And then like, so leading up, so I guess this is one good thing to come out of the Dark Tower movie is like, we did get all as like a staff. We started all talking together, like Twinkie and Moto and Double D and you and I were all like texting back and forth. And I was just sharing like Stephen King awesomeness one right after the other. So there was like the Kingdom trailer. And then we talked about Dark Tower there for a little bit. Then I was like, oh, by the way, I just bought this art. So then I shared that picture. And then the official It trailer dropped like right around that same time too, which is like the longer trailer. I guess what we've had up to this point had just been teasers, but that trailer is just fucking it. That movie, for all of the lack of excitement I had for the Dark Tower movie, has all been given to the It. Like all of that excitement is like, it's the opposite for It. I am in 100. Like I will probably be more devastated if the It movie isn't good because I've bought into it at this point. Like I'm like excited for it and it looks amazing, you know?
I would be surprised if it's not what it seems to be, you know, with all of that, those kind of trailers that show so much and do such a good job of establishing like what seems to be the tone of the movie. It feels like when Stranger Things came out, I was very, very, I think maybe I was only into Salem's Lot or something. Like I was super early. And I didn't know much about Stephen King's career. That's the whole point. And I thought that and I was little late Stranger Things. Excited to watch it, but it didn't see it right away. Like it was a few months after it came out. I thought it was maybe based on a Stephen King book or property. I was to find out later, it was just kind of had a good, like a Stephen King vibe. Based
I remember we talked about that on an episode. We talked about that. Yeah.
So it feels like definitely like a Stranger Things influenced Stephen King movie. Like even to the point where one of the Stranger Things kids is one of the kids in the movie.
Yeah.
And you were telling me something I didn't know about the time period.
Yes. So in the book, the kids come, like the whole movie centers around 2 time periods because Pennywise basically attacks Derry cyclically, like in the books, it's like every 30-ish years. And so the book centers around these kids fight it and win, but make a promise that if it ever came back, they would come back and kill it again. And so then the book, it's 30 years later and all these kids are grown up and they get the call that they have to come back to Derry to fight it again. So then the book deals with them remembering what they did when they were kids, and you're remembering it. You're learning about it as they're remembering it. So they'll flash back, and then you'll have 100 pages. That's their flashback. And it's really, so you're chronicling both things happening at the same time. And they're all steering towards the confrontation of them confronting Pennywise when they're kids and Pennywise when they're grown-ups. And both time periods are like converging on those two instances that are 30 years apart ish.
Yeah.
Right. So I have to do all that so this makes sense. So like the book takes place in like in 1958 ish, like 58, 59, and 1984.
When it was probably published or written.
Yeah, like when it was published. So like, or 86. So like it's that time period. Like it's present as they're adults, it's present day when the book was published in the mid 80s.
Yeah.
Flashing back to when they were kids in the late 50s, early 60s. Now this movie comes out and I didn't notice this. It took I watched some video that was like things you missed in the It trailer or the It teaser. And one of them, there's a shot even in the trailer now. This whole thing centers around when they're kids. So if you're thinking of the book, you're like, oh, this is taking place in the 50s. And the trailer feels dated, right? Like it's obviously dated. Like they are not in modern day clothes or anything like that. But there's one shot where like all of them are leaning against an IROC Z, like a Camaro, like an old Camaro, like a 1980s Camaro.
Yeah. And
I read that this kid portion takes place in the mid 80s, and the ultimate adult sequel that's going to happen after this will be set in 2016, 30 years after that. So when they shot the kids one, so the adult one is going to be our present day, and the kid part of the story is when we were kids.
Yeah, that's so cool.
Like so cool.
No, is it gonna be? Because I didn't realize there was that split in the book. In the movie, to your knowledge, are they doing the back and forth? Or you think I think the kids and they'll do a sequel?
The speculation that I have read is that this is it's just a straight movie about the kids. We don't even know, and that the sequel is literally going to be the adults fighting Pennywise then. And I think that's going to be because we'll get 2.5 hours of this like 1985 It, and then we'll get 2.5 hours of like the 2016-17 It, where we get to see Derry juxtaposed like in those two shots, like with 30 years of age in there. That's going to be interesting from a filmmaker standpoint, how they do that, like how they make this city look good, like how it ages over those two things, because they'll be using the same settings for a lot of stuff. Really, it's so like all of that positive stuff that I should have felt for the Dark Tower that I just could not muster, I totally have for it. Like it
sounds amazing. Like the 80s thing, because it'll stoke the nostalgia. Well, there's a lot of that going around already with the Stranger Things, etc. But also, that's when the book came out, so people who read the book at the time will associate it with that time, and for it to all stay in that period would be super cool. And it being updated from whenever it was in the book, but then to have a built-in sequel that's not like how do we capitalize on this rather and come up with something new, but have its origin in the original text as well, but in this different order. Yep. That's so cool. I didn't realize that.
Oh man. And I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if there's a little bit of the adult thing, maybe to set it up either at the beginning or the end. Okay. So the book, it's really awesome. It starts once the characters start getting introduced. I mean, because King spends probably 70 pages just talking about Derry at first.
What else is Derry in his? That's one of his towns, right? Like,
yeah, it's a made up one. The Dreamcatcher, 11/22/63. What books does Derry appear in?
that sounds. I'm realizing now that I know it from you telling me about those books and the connection to something like it. I don't think I've come across Derry yet as a Firestarter. I'm going to finish Firestarter, I think, tomorrow, but I actually haven't looked up
that was
what
a
comes
quick
next.
Derry is a fictional town and part of Stephen King's fictional Maine topography. Derry has served as the setting for a number of his novels, novellas, and short stories. Derry first appeared in King's 1981 short story, The Bird and the Album, and has reappeared as late as his 2011 novel, 11/22/63. And then let's see here. There's a whole Wikipedia page just on Derry, on Stephen King's Derry. So there's works set in Derry and works referring to Derry. So here's what's set in Derry. The Body, which is Stand By Me, the short story, the novella that Stand By Me is based on. You ever seen that movie, Stand By Me?
No, isn't that crazy? Like,
holy shit, man, you're killing me. That's like one of my 80s go-tos.
I know most people's. It's just, I don't know. It escaped me at the
This
time.
is another reason why, and I need to say this now that we're on Stand By Me. This is another reason why I'm so excited for the It movie. My favorite movies from the 80s are about groups of kids getting to do kid shit.
Oh, yeah.
In a world of grown-ups that just don't pay attention to them. Like The Goonies. Stand By Me is another great example of that. The Last Starfighter, Flight of the Navigator.
Yeah.
All of these are staples to my childhood. All of these have recurring themes. A group of friends in them that are like, or at least two friends that their bond is like inseparable.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was kind of a lonely, like I was a latchkey kid, and like my mom was a little overprotective. Like I was kind of a lonely kid. Like I just didn't have, I had friends, but it's not like, I wanted those kind of friends that I could just like totally confide in. That's why another reason why The Cabin spoke to me so much. It was,
yeah. I think that's common of some of us cabin kids. Like I was similar. Like I had Jacko basically, which was plenty for me at the time. But that collective was exciting.
But that's another reason why this It thing, because this It movie really feels, it has that, it's set in the 80s. And it has that 80s group of kids adventure. I mean, even the book It spoke to me when I read that in the early 2000s. And I physically read that before I even thought about doing a chronology or anything. It still spoke to me just because of that camaraderie, the Losers Club. I mean, that's like the group of friends. That's what they call themselves, is the Losers Club. And they're like all kind of misfits. Like one's a stutterer, one has asthma, one's got glasses and is a big mouth. There's a fat kid. There's a slutty, not slutty. Let me take that back. There's a poor girl. There and a Jew and a black kid. That's the Losers Club. Like I'm not making it up. Like it's like
that does feel like the Goonies. And Stranger Things and all that.
Exactly.
Monsters Club.
And so all right. So work set in Derry. So there's The Body. There's It. Insomnia. Oh shit! I forgot Insomnia.
I don't know.
Bag of Bones. Dreamcatcher. Fair Extension. And 11/22/63.
Nice.
Partially because that movie's about the assassination of Kennedy. He ends up in Dallas. Spoiler alert.
You know, it's funny. We had I'm sorry. Were there more Derry?
There's works referring to Derry.
Oh.
So The Body, Running Man, Pet Cemetery, Uncle Otto's Truck, Mrs. Todd's Shortcut, my favorite Stephen King short story ever. The Tommyknockers, The Night Flyer, Secret. Well, there's a ton of these. Secret Window, Secret Garden, Needful Things, Insomnia, Autopsy Room 4, The Road Virus Heads North, Hearts in Atlantis, The Dark Tower 7, Lycie's Story, Mute, Under the Dome, Full Dark, No Stars. Oh yeah, Dreamcatcher isn't on there.
Wow, that's a lot. Yeah, but what's interesting is I don't think I haven't gotten to any of those yet.
Yeah,
and actually, interestingly enough, I don't know what I'm going to next. Like I'm probably going to finish Firestarter tomorrow. I went to StephenKing.com, the library, here a moment ago, and it was pretty. I don't know like what to do next, because there's actually the thing that makes the most sense. Here, let me read a couple of these and tell me if you're like, oh, you can, that's in this or that. So like the very next thing, sure. Dark Forces, the 21st Pan of Book of Horror Stories.
What?
The Crate, Fantasy Annual 4. A lot of these are saying anthology.
Yeah, those are probably either short story contributions or I mean that's probably what it is.
Oh, I
it's
see.
Like a collection,
that makes sense.
Like a collection of short stories with other authors, and he either contributed something to that or they paid to have one of his stories in that. Like,
oh, stories that probably are going to show up in one of his short story collections. Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
All right.
I wouldn't worry about anything that says the anthology on it.
I think
didn't
what
do
is
that.
next though. Some of them do say short story. Like there's something here that says the Crate, the Monkey, interspersed amongst these. I think what the next thing is actually for me is Roadwork. Isn't that one of your favorite Bachman novels? Or no, The Long Walk.
No, The Long Walk. Yeah, it's The Long Walk is my favorite Bachman novel. Okay. That is.
So I'm up to I will hit 1980 with that. Or no, I'm in 1980 with Firestarter. But yeah. So Roadwork will be my second Bachman novel that hopefully I can find.
Oh yeah, because you had Rage was the first one.
Yeah. Not finished.
Hey, you dipshit motherfucker! Like, like the way that narrator like that reads that shit is just like, listen here, you dipshit motherfucker! Like he doesn't put any inflection or like doesn't try to sound like a kid or anything. Right. He's just like, I'm a 42-year-old man reading this book, like,
and we're getting it on down here,
and we are getting it on. You feel like getting it on, you dipshit motherfucker! Like, oh man. Oh, I don't even know if dipshit motherfucker's a line in that, but I just feel like there's a scene where he's like, where he cusses out the teacher. You know what I'm talking about? Like early on in the book, or the principal, like he like cusses out the principal, and like it's just like, right? It was so off-putting because I'm just like, this guy does not know how to swear at all. Like he obviously has never been cussed out by a teenager before.
Oh, that's awesome.
So
do you have an audio version of that? Because I don't know
Roadwork.
If I'll be able,
I think I do. Yeah.
If you think of that when you dump the audio for this in, or if you have access to it, it's no rush because it'll take me a minute to get to it. But
yeah, no problem.
I don't know if I'll be able to track that down through my libraries and stuff.
No problem. I'm pretty sure I have that. I'll be able to throw that in there. No problem.
Awesome. Thank you. I was about it.
You should just do it though. Like I'm just telling you.
Right. That's true.
You have like 3 weeks before the movie comes out. 3 or 4 weeks.
Oh, okay.
And you're gonna want to see the movie. You know that.
Oh yeah. I kind of was thinking I just would see the movie, and then get to it. But I don't know how much. I'm a few years. Oof, that's tough.
Yeah, you're like, I mean, because it's like 1986, I think.
And I doubt I would get through it in 3 weeks. I'd have to make a real concentrated effort. Plus, it's summertime. I don't like that idea.
Listen, I got through it. I got through it.
Yeah, you're right. 86.
86. September 86. So I got through it between driving to work, which your commute is almost as long as mine.
It's about an hour. Yeah, and construction season right now, so it's kind of sucks.
I got through it in like a week and a half, honestly, between my commutes, because it's so engaging. First off, the narrator is amazing. He sounds like Stanley Tucci, but it's not Stanley Tucci.
Oh man.
But between dog walks and my commute, I was able to get through it. I mean, if it took you longer than 4 weeks to get through it on audio, and you were making a concerted effort to get through it, there would be a problem, in my opinion.
Yeah.
If you spend 2 hours a day in the car, I mean,
I usually only for some reason listen to books in the morning, but okay.
I do that because I listen to Morning Joe in the morning. That's the only thing that I don't fall asleep to because I'm just so angry while I listen to it.
Oh my God.
I like if I try to listen to books or music, man, I'm by the tail end of that commute, I'm just like dragging ass and falling asleep.
Run on
but I listen
Fury.
to Morning Joe and I'm like, are you fucking kidding me?
I know.
He tweeted that?
And it's like, what is he, a fucking professional wrestler? It's like,
yeah,
they're gonna feel Fury, the likes of which the world has never seen. It's like, what the fuck?
Who's like? Well, that's just proving Vince McMahon writes his tweets.
I buy that.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry. All right. So I guess I'll see about that. That seems like the right thing.
I mean, if you're gonna break the chronology for anything, I think that would merit it.
Yeah, that's true. And you think it will deepen my appreciation of the movie? Or see, what I was kind of thinking is if I see the movie, then I get to read the book like you did with The Stand and have those be the characters.
Oh yeah, I see what you're saying.
And
it really, and honestly, like my only drawback to that is what if the movie sucks? Then you have that, you know what I mean? People. Like then you have that to taint your image of the movie. Like I still, because John Ritter played the adult version of one of the characters in the 80s version of it.
Yeah. I was going to ask you if they did the adult kid thing both in that version. It sounds like
that version they did. They tried to do the book. They changed some weird things in that, but they did try to do the book. But John Ritter played the grown-up version of one of the characters.
Okay.
And they do a much better job. The adult versions of these kids get just as much exposition as the kid versions in the book because the book's gigantic. He has that much time that he can like really dive into both lives, like their lives as grown-ups and their lives as kids. And so when you get that character's exposition as an adult, it's really like he's really cool. Like, and he's the fat kid when they're kids. And then as a grown-up, like he's awesome, right? And I just picture John Ritter in like being awesome like that. Like just constantly wears like engineer boots and like blue jeans and like blue chambray shirts, but is like a multi-billionaire architect and like flies his own plane. And like even if he's doing a job, like in the book, he's like doing this job over in England and he still flies back. His own plane flies back so that he can drink in his local bar in Nebraska every Saturday. Like while he's on that job, he would still fly back on Thursday night so that he could be at the honky tonk on Saturday to have his like one drink and then like tip and then leave. And like that, but because that was his routine. It's like, how fucking awesome is that? Like,
so you did or did not like you picture John Ritter?
Oh no, I totally like that.
That's awesome.
And like in Tim Curry as like Pennywise, like that's because Tim Curry, like that is the one saving grace of that miniseries version of it is Tim Curry is fucking terrifying as Pennywise. Like
that's the thing I always imagined was I knew he played that character and just picturing him as a clown seemed terrifying.
Yeah. Well, and I mean the whole like, because in the book he's just as he's a clown. So while all of these horrific things are happening, he's cracking jokes and like being jovial, like while it's happening, you know, and like just really more macabre and like morbid and oh man. And that's what makes it so awesome. And Tim Curry nailed it. So this Ben Skarsgård, who I think that's his name, who's playing Pennywise in this, is that his name? Bill Skarsgård, sorry. Who is now? Get this. Let's talk about these guys real quick here.
Bust this.
Did you watch any of True Blood at all?
No, I well maybe one episode or something.
Okay, like you know the big blonde Viking looking.
I know of him. Yeah, Eric the Viking, right? Or
yeah,
something like that. Maybe that's his nickname.
Okay. That is the brother of Bill. That guy's last name is also Skarsgård. He is the brother of Bill Skarsgård, right?
Okay, yeah.
Who both of them are the son, because I read some article that they were like, well, we had really, really big shoes to fill, and our dad is an actor.
Oh, shit. The guy from Good Will Hunting and Girl with a Dragon Tattoo.
Yes. Is their father.
Huh.
Crazy, right?
Yeah. These guys, though, at least the one from True Blood, like he's like a Greek god.
Well, and this guy's pretty like Bill Skarsgård's pretty good looking too. Like he's like kind of chiseled and awesome. And I guess because they're from Sweden, I think.
That sounds yeah.
And he has a really strong film career in Sweden, like Bill Skarsgård does. So, like he's done a lot of indie movies there. He's also stars in like Sweden's highest costing production ever. It was like 100 and some million that they spent on this the adaptation of some book, and he stars in it, and his dad's also in it. So there's definitely potential for him to be as terrifying as Tim Curry, I think. The problem with Tim Curry's performance is it's not terrifying when set against the rest of the production. Like,
yeah,
because it's made for TV, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. How is it stuck? It's like the Shining TV series or worse.
Yeah. Or worse.
Oh, yikes. Okay.
You know,
I mean, I didn't dislike
do
the Shining
not watch
series.
that.
Well,
yeah.
I don't know. Yeah. So that one, like, yeah, I'm glad. Like, okay, I probably should read it first.
Oh man. So there's a lot going on in Stephen King universe right now.
Oh, you know, I don't want to forget to tell you about it is we had some folks over and they saw my Firestarter book and my Stephen King books on the shelf. And it was someone who is just a little bit older than us. Yeah, well, maybe like 5 to 10 years older than us. And she was saying that it's like, you know, the one movie, and actually she said too about Firestarter. It's like, oh, I just saw that movie. And I'm literally at the time I was debating whether or not I would get the Shout Factory of a movie I hadn't seen and a book that I don't even like that much, or if I would just try to get it through some other means. She's like, oh, that's a great movie. And I was like, good. I'm ordering it. And I did. And I'll probably watch it this weekend. But she said the one book that that scared me so much I couldn't even read it in a room without other people or go to sleep at night. And she's like, you know what it was? I was like, well, no. She says, it was It. That's what this person was saying. So yeah, I'm primed. Okay, I'll get a hold of it, try to read it before the movie comes out, and then by the time people hear about it on the podcast, I will have already read it, I think, because of our lag and the episodes we're banking right now. We're getting a lot of good people on mic and stuff. So
that's going to be great. And, you know, listen up for episode 30, you guys. That's going to be a big show. We're going to have the whole staff on, hopefully.
Yeah.
And going to revisit some of our favorite clips.
I know we've been talking longer than we intended here, but I don't want to shortchange the King Corner, but I'll try not to interject as much going forward.
No, I don't think I have. I mean, that was so. Oh no, so because I'm just thinking of that series of tweets that we went through, because then like that came out and like Moto's contribution to that conversation was surprising, just in the fact that I did not think, like, of course Moto has heard all of our Stephen King conversations. I just would not have pegged him of like, same thing with Double D. Double D has bent my ear at least 4 times over the Dead Zone.
Oh, really? Like just talking about it?
Like, just like, can you believe this? And like, can you believe this? And like,
this is so wrong. He needs to be on mic.
I know. That's what I said. And I was just like, but it just blew me away that like our love of Stephen King is like filtering into our friends. Cause like Twinkie was talking about how he was going to follow my lead on the Dark Tower movie, and, how the It trailer kept him up for days, and like
I love that too. He's just like, fuck that, I'm not watching it. And he seemed kind of serious.
He did. He really did. But there's that, and then Double D's like this last time he's like bending my ear, and out of nowhere I just like interrupted him, and I'm like, "What's the next Stephen King book you're gonna read?" And there's a slight pause, and I was waiting for him to like, I don't know, say something, and he's like, or say like, "I don't know, what do you think?" That's what I was expecting. Like, I wasn't expecting him to have already something in mind for his next one.
Yeah.
I was trying to point out, like, dude, you're becoming a Stephen King fan. Like, wait, like let's think about the next one you're going to read. But there was a slight pause, and then without missing a beat, he's like, "I think I'm going to start the Dark Tower." So Double D's going to jump right into the Dark Tower. And then Moto, out of the blue, hits us both with a new Stephen King project that we had no idea was even in existence.
Oh yeah, the Mr. Mercedes. Shit, that
Which is
premieres tonight. I'm looking at
does
StephenKing.com, and there's a banner. I don't know when this was published or when people will see this.
I forgot this. This was this little tidbit was that the producer said that Tilda Swinton, they originally had her scheduled to come in and read for Pennywise, to audition for Pennywise.
Oh, wow.
And some project fell through, like conflicted, and she never got to do that read, which meant they moved on Bill Skarsgård.
Oh.
But he's like, there was this one brief period in time where we thought maybe Tilda Swinton was going to be Pennywise. And as soon, like, and now I'm not trying to sell Bill Skarsgård short, right? Like, I think like the latest trailer, when he finally talks, he's like holding the paper boat and he's like, "Go ahead, take it." And he like, he does that T at the end where he like clicks that T. And I'm just, cause he's got those like big buck teeth, you know, and like, and you're like, oh, that's pretty awesome. So like, I'm pretty confident that Bill Skarsgård is going to do amazing as Pennywise. But I kind of was guilty, or kind of regretted the fact that I didn't live in the universe that Tilda Swinton played Pennywise. Like,
it does sound cool. Yeah.
Doesn't that sound awesome? I mean, because I'm thinking back to like, she plays Gabriel in Constantine. Like the Constantine adaptation. I think it's Gabriel. Is like the angel that she plays one of the archangels, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And where she's
firstborns with a mama's watch. I've turned cities into salt, and I even, when I feel like it, rip the souls out of little girls. And the only thing you can count on from now until kingdom come is never understanding why. Sorry.
Looks like a bad news for the war effort.
Shut up! Oh boy.
All right, so
that's the best archangel for my money.
So the Mr. Mercedes show. So Moto comes out of nowhere. I'm just like, Stephen King awesome, Stephen King awesome, Stephen King awesome, Stephen King awesome. Like, to the point that I'm like, man, they have got to fucking hate me. Like,
it's like fun.
And so out of nowhere, Moto's like, boom, Mr. Mercedes trailer. One, this was not on my radar. Do you remember me referencing a few times on earlier episodes that trilogy of novels that he just finished?
Yeah,
and I'm not to that point. Like that's the part of the chronology that I haven't started yet.
Yeah, they're recent. Like one of them just came out in the last year. That's it.
Like that's the trilogy. Is the Mr. Mercedes trilogy, which is like, I've read about a little bit about it. It's supposed to be his like hard-boiled detective novels. Is what that it's like, follows a detective who's trying to catch the serial killer. So, which that looks fucking fantastic too. Like, and it's got big people in it. Who are it's so it's got I'm not looking at the right thing. Well, it's directed by Jack Bender, who did a lot of episodes of Lost and Game of Thrones. Okay.
And adapted for television by David E. Kelly, who he did a lot of successful shows, mostly lawyer-based shows. I watched Ally McBeal. I liked that one.
Oh, okay.
But I think he did like I don't know. He was a big TV guy for a while. A lot of good shows. He was like the The Shonda Rhimes of his day. I don't know. Now I'm just like dating myself. But what's Brendan? What is this guy's name? Dude, to see him. You know.
The guy from 28 Days Later. The dad from 28 Days Later.
Exactly.
You know what I'm talking about?
That's all you need.
Yeah.
Brendan O'Brien. I'm gonna call. No, that's the producer. Of the program.
No, this guy. No, seriously though, this guy is like
Brendan Gleeson. All right, now I'm actually finding it. Come on, seriously, you're not going to give the name? It is Brendan Gleeson. Okay.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Where is he? Where is he at on here? Like I'm looking at the thing. He's like the main character.
I had to click on the website, and actually, he seems to be the only person they.
How is that guy not fucking knighted? He's been in so much awesome shit, and he's awesome in all of it. Like
I know.
In Bruges. Have you ever seen In Bruges before?
Oh, of course. Yeah, they're filming midgets.
Yeah. Come on.
That is such a fun movie.
So.
Holy shit! Mary Louise Parker's in this. That's pretty cool. Anyhow, yeah, good people.
Yeah, I like this is going to be an amazing show, right?
Yeah.
Oh man, at the top of IMDb is Logan Logan Lucky banner, and which we were just talking about that movie in episode 28, and there's fucking Daniel Craig. No peeking.
I'm most excited to see Kylo Ren. That's the one I liked the most from the preview for some reason.
Can you hand me my arm? You mean this one?
Yeah. So, are you gonna engage in this TV show or wait till you read the books?
I mean, TV is really hard for me, anyways, just because I don't have cable, so I never watch anything topically. Like it's all like. Part of this also filters into my personality too. Is I'm a gulper, a binger. I like it all at once. So like Lost, I didn't watch Lost in time until like the 4th season. Up to that point, I waited for the seasons to come out on DVD so I could watch them all at once.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And it just became fucking nightmare trying to do that during the season and not getting spoiled. So I had to stay on pace with it then so that nothing would get ruined.
It looks like it's on DirecTV and Uverse. So I don't even know if it's on something you can see, whatever Uverse is.
Yeah. That is the AT&T's cable service. See that I think all of these cable services are starting to follow Netflix's and Amazon and Hulu's. Well, Amazon and Hulu are just following Netflix's example, but I think everybody's going to start creating exclusive content. I think that's what it's boiling to.
Which is it's starting to make me nuts, honestly, because like I want to see Twin Peaks really badly, but I don't have Showtime. I watched on the plane. I watched the first half of the pilot to Cameron Crowe's Showtime series Roadies, which I've heard was bad, but I was like, oh, I'd watch this. Can't. Like these are two shows too. Like so, I thought maybe I could get the DVDs for Roadies. No,
Westworld and Game of Thrones, like both of those, I would like to.
We watched Game of Thrones on DVD via Netflix, like one season behind. And that's been okay, I guess, though it's really hard to avoid spoilers.
Right.
But like what they're doing now is they're not making DVDs for some of these shows. Like Roadies, they don't make DVDs. I wanted to get DVDs of Stranger Things, Blu-rays, just because I thought that'd be fun. Don't make them.
Yeah.
Like they're just they're just making it so you can't get stuff without subscribing to these services. And it's like you have to subscribe to all of them.
Which
bullshit.
Ends up being like 8 times more than cable costs.
Right. Yeah. Don't do this to us, everybody, whoever you are.
Well, and I mean, listen, Netflix, we love your show. And for people like Dave that just need the physical thing to say, this is how much I love the show.
Yeah, because that's the thing. People can and will and have take it away. Like it's not always just going to be there.
Right. Right.
It's like Disney.
Well, and it also lets them control. This is the other piece of it is it lets them. Lucas would not have had half of the problems if he would have controlled how we got to watch those movies.
That's true.
Like,
yeah.
That's the whole point of the Disney Vault, man, is like it goes away for 30 years. So that way, when like, why do you think they always like, we discovered another song for this. It's now updated with the new song. Bullshit. We know you just wrote that song to get people to buy this new version of a movie they already have 4 versions of.
Yeah.
But because you wait 15 years or 20 years between opening the vault and letting them out, that's what makes people buy it regardless. You wouldn't have to put new shit in it. It's just because the format's totally changed or whatever. But if Netflix is like, let's say, for example, Netflix got a lot of flack for killing off Barb, right? And not explaining that. If they made Stranger Things disappear, like let's say that fell out of the limelight for 5 years, and then they had a revival for Stranger Things and re-released those episodes, they could erase Barb's storyline and there would be people that would never know that. Like that's
right. Yeah.
That's another reason why, like, just like what's the video store in Texas?
Vulcan Video.
Vulcan Video. That's why I was trying to find, like, I wanted them to find that, like, period specific version of Phenomenon, because it could have changed from the edition that came out on video that you and I watched for the first time. If the DVD wasn't released until 2002, the studio could have very easily changed that, like used a different take for that DVD
maybe they
cut.
didn't want the word ass in there or something.
Yeah. And nobody would be the wiser.
Right.
You know, like.
Yeah, because I ended up watching that whole movie. I'm like, I thought he said it somewhere. And then I made peace, I guess, with like, okay, well, he says like, yeah, I fell, but he doesn't scream it. So
right.
Like, all right. But he doesn't say knock me on my ass. He said knock me on my feet, knock me off my feet. And it was a PG movie. And I'm like, well, they could still say ass. But yeah, no, it bums me out when stuff, like you have things that you like and then they're suddenly gone.
Right.
That show out of Milwaukee that I like with Mark Borchardt, they've been on. They think of it as a radio station, and it is a radio station. It's even become an FM station and stuff. But I always listen to it kind of as a podcast, but not truly podcast like on iTunes and stuff. Just on SoundCloud, and you could download them, but they would be like some format you had to convert. It wouldn't even like play as an MP3. You'd have to open it up in a Adobe Audition. So I wasn't like downloading them or anything, but I was creating like a playlist and I would go there and I'd always think like I should download these because you never know. Yeah. Well, not too long ago, the entire like several year run was just gone. And it's actually, and it's because of what you talked about before. Because especially Borchardt started to be at the helm more because one of the hosts left and the other one moved away and was calling in on the phone, and Mark would play like a full song, and he would even make a point of being like how he doesn't interrupt the fade out. He's like, they do that on the radio, man, and that don't fly here. But like, so he would just like let the song fade out because they are radio station stuff. Like he's not thinking about any of this stuff. He doesn't really care. But I'm pretty sure that that's what happened is that SoundCloud just took them, just like they all just disappeared one day. The whole run of that show. And they talked about it
because of that copyright shit, right?
They didn't say so on air when they talked about it, but I'm pretty sure. And that makes perfect sense because I was like, I could see that he did it for like a year or so of just like full out playing a song at the beginning and a song in the middle. And must have, and like a lot of the same songs over and over again.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but it was just like, oh man, I loved those and I wanted to go back. I'd love to go back to some of them sometimes. Like they mention, we mention a lot of shit, but that's a movie, that's a 1 hour show about movies from these like guys with encyclopedic knowledge of film history. And they would just rattle off so much. I used to try to take notes on it and I stopped a long time ago. And anyway, but like, yeah, the internet giveth and the internet taketh away.
You need the second D to keep track of that, all those shows that they reference.
Oh yeah.
That's what the two Ds, that's where the two Ds are.
Yeah. We're getting far afield from the king corner, but yeah, it's all circles.
It's just fucking like, well, look, this is frustrating in the sense that if this is exclusive to AT&T Uverse, Hulu has 11/22/63. I sure as shit am not subscribing to either one of those shitty services. But I want your fucking content. I'll pay you for your content.
Yeah, like there must be a way.
Yeah, you got to pirate it. Like you have to break the law. Like that's the piece that I like, because Netflix is never going to be like, they're trying to kill DVDs, right? They're never going to be like, here's all of our content on DVDs, you know? I guess. Yeah. Well, did they put out Orange and the New Black?
Yeah, like some things they do. Yeah, Orange is the New Black came out a little bit.
Or what's the Kevin Spacey movie?
Yeah, House of Cards. I've seen
House
that.
of Cards. Like they have. Yeah, they have those. What am I?
Some of them they do. There's other weird things like.
I can't believe they didn't put Stranger Things out on DVD. That's
fucking
odd. Crazy.
Yeah,
yeah, that is odd.
Maybe they will in conjunction with the new season or something, but at the same time, they don't have to. Like they don't need the help. you know?
Yeah.
That's other true. Weird stuff. Like, you know, I mean, I'm a Kevin Smith fan and collector, and the comic book man, that's the only well, that's not true. Anyway, it's the only non-scripted, like not hosted, you know, not like Chris Hardwick hosted show on AMC's network. And they're going into their, like, I think 6th or 7th season, but none of them have ever been put on DVD.
Oh.
And even Netflix will get one season at a time. That's not the kind of show, though, you want to binge. But
right,
that's So it's just weird. It's a thing going away where the TV on DVD was such a big deal for so many years. I remember growing up, like I was always taping things off television, and sometimes they would release stuff on VHS as a series, but they'd be really expensive and it'd be a bunch of tapes and
you'd have like a box set like this big, you know.
Yeah, and definitely they wouldn't do it for every show. I mean, very few shows got that kind of treatment.
Right.
I remember I used to order Highlanders, the TV series box sets like that from a catalog or something. And actually in that beautiful fucking record store I found, I wish I could think it was called Cheapo Records, I think, in Minneapolis. Oh, they had like 3 or 4 of those seasons of Highlander on VHS, and it's like one of those things where the picture goes across many spines to form a picture. Yeah. And they were like $4 a piece, and I didn't get them, but I was like,
for the set or for each tape?
For the set, and I was like,
$4 a set.
But I was like, what am I going to really? I don't have that kind of space. And I wouldn't really watch them on VHS. I have a few of the other seasons, though. So I'm like, I could complete it. Saying it aloud, man, it's tempting. Okay. I can't even talk about this.
You got a dog? Is that a dog going off in the background?
What's Maggie wants to go out.
Oh.
Maggie, we're almost done. We've been talking a long time. I'm sorry. You know how we get.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's pretty much all the King stuff I got. You know, like there's enough going on. Really bummed that the Dark Tower movie sucked. Read the books though.
Well.
And so will Mr. Mercedes, and so will Double D. I'm excited. Like, that's the King Corner.
King Corner and episode 29. Wrapped.
Episode 29.
We're back.
We're back
from
everybody.
Our hiatus.
Next episode is going to be the 30th episode. Again, that's got me, Twinkie, Dave, Moto, Double D, all of us talking about our favorite moments so far on Long Walk Short Drink. If this already was not conceited enough, then we're going to spend 4 hours being even more conceited. Then episode 31 is going to be the Pumps episode. And then 32 should be the Disney episode, which will also have Double D and hopefully Stan the Man.
Nice.
A little bit of my current cabin coming in on with my old cabin. It'll be nice.
Oh, so very cool. Yeah, great stuff in store.
Yeah, so plenty in store. Thanks for listening. Let us know what you think at LWSD Pod on Twitter. If you want us on other social networks, let us know that, and we'll tell you to fuck off unless you're going to sponsor us.
You can always email us too. Write to lwsdpod@gmail.com, and we'll get it and get back to you.
Or lwsd.palmer@gmail.com.
Oh, yeah.
Or you want to give your email address?
Sure.
Dave?
My email address is DJ, J as in James, DJU at davidulman.net, which is ULLMAN.net.
You can get to Twinkie at 330 Cabin Kid. You can get to Double D
on Twitter,
at on Twitter, at 330 Cabin Kid. Double D is at what his is. And Moto, I don't think he has a Twitter either.
Moto,
but get him to us.
Get to.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think he likes it that way. I like them big. I like them chunky.
We'd all love to hear from you, though, and we're grateful if you're
absolutely.
Listening out there.
Any of those ways, you can download us at any of our, you download us, you listen to this right now. Why should I tell you where to get us from?
Fucking YouTube, fucking iTunes, fucking Stitcher,
Yeah.
fucking Google Play.
Google Play Music, all the major players are in there. But thanks so much for listening. We're back and going stronger than ever. We'll talk to you in episode 30.
All right, cheers.
Hey, you dipshit motherfucker. Like,